I get to fly around the world, go to all these super cool cities. And then on Saturday, I get to wake up and go race my dirt bike for a living. Yeah, I want to win every championship. I want to, I want to do all of it. When he gave me the offer, I was like, what would I have to do to make this a 2-year deal? And he was like, perform. That's the only thing that you have complete control over is your amount of effort and what you're willing to put into it. Like as soon as we all crash and I get up and I just look down and I'm like, put everything away in my pants. And then there's just no putting it away. Everything falls back out. And I'm just like, on to the next thing. Where's my bike? It was a whole deal. I could care less really about that. Whatever. Like, every man's got one. When I was pulling up to the truck, I stood up and she just died laughing. Like, what happened? Funniest thing to her. TMZ reached out. They had already made an article on it.
Atlanta, when you came back to get on the podium after that crash, you have that, you have the crash on the triple, the hits you've taken, and like the way that you've bounced back. Like that actually is your brand. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by AG1. I want to give a big personal thank you for their help in getting me to the start line at Glen Helen for the World Vets. It was a real bucket list thing for me, and I spent all of 2023 training for it. I may have skipped a couple of runs and had a few off days at the track, but one thing I didn't skip all year was a morning started with AG1. Consistency is everything in health and fitness, and one scoop of AG1 with water first thing in the morning, every morning, played a massive role in getting me on the start line. I feel more energized, I have better digestion, and I have a higher sense of general well-being as a result. That's because every scoop includes things such as B vitamins for energy support, probiotics for gut support, and vitamin C and zinc for immune support. And while all of these attributes make AG1 a real no-brainer, you can try it and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. Go to drinkag1.com/gypsytales and keep an eye out for our World Vets content dropping here on our YouTube channel soon.
I met a gypsy.
Yo, there we go. We're alive. We're back. Cameron Mcadoo is joining us again. Not the best. You always come on after crashes, actually, now that I think about it. Last time was after your Hero Atlanta effort. And then this time, unfortunately, back after a little bit of an injury. But nonetheless, I'm actually very stoked to talk to you. You've had an insane season. And just epic general bench racing. So
yeah, I'm always excited to come on and chat, and I obviously follow along with all of your all the episodes that you do, and have some really interesting people on. So it's fun to be part of that group.
Oh, I appreciate it, mate. Well, so we sort of touched base a bit on your injury, but for the people listening, obviously leading the points, had the red plate, just some violent bad luck. And then, bit of a bump shoulders put you out.
Yeah. I kind of try to, I don't want to say bad luck. I think that we're always in a position to be in a position, or we have the ability to put ourselves in positions. Unfortunately in Nashville at the East-West Shootout, I was in practice and I was on a roll lap, and another rider and I ended up coming together, and I landed on my shoulder just wrong, and I had a fracture in my scapula and tore one of the muscles in the back of my shoulder. So we tried racing that night. Kind of, it's one of those things where you're the points leader, you have the red plate, like you have no option but to, and I will never, if anyone's ever followed along with my career, I'll never take a knee. Like I'll take it as far as I possibly can.
Yeah, you're that guy.
Yeah, exactly. And within, what's safe.
Yeah.
And that was very unfortunate. But yeah, like I kind of alluded back to, I I was in that position. I put myself in the position, but I also put myself in the position to have the red plate, towards the end of the season, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity to be able to put ourselves there, and I'm really proud of our efforts, throughout this season.
Yeah, dude, amazing season. Like, we were just talking with my wife before. Like, you fully made. It was like her first year really investing in Supercross, and like she's a full-on Cameron Mcadoo fan, which is cool, Like, your story got told, your personality came through, and there's probably people that say like you don't have like the biggest personality in Supercross, but like you do. You're like your own guy in the sport, and I think this year was such a great example of like you hard on your sleeve, tries super hard, and you're like the product of an insane amount of hard work, and you kind of like this. I don't know. You said it before, but I was been telling people he's the Justin Brayton of 2024. Like, this is our new Justin Brayton. Everyone loved Justin Brayton. He retired. We've got our new guy. So you had an amazing season.
Yeah, it's funny that we talk about Justin Brayton because he's
one of your boys.
One of my biggest mentors, one of my closest mentors, even since before my professional career, actually. Pretty much as soon as I started taking racing seriously and moved down to Club MX, he was on JGR at the time, JGR Yamaha, and he saw a sticker on my front fender that was like, it said Yankton Motorsports, and it was, he was like, he knew that was close to, he's like, Yankton Motorsports. I'm like, yeah, I'm from Iowa, and I was just some kid, just riding and stuff. And he was like, really? And he's like, me too. And I'm like, I know, like, I know who you are, obviously, And then a couple mountain bike, we did a mountain bike race in Charlotte. A bunch of the club guys came to it, and he was one of like the top expert guys. And I just raced a sport class, and I ended up, I think, throwing up on my bike twice, and like I was, just almost died on it. And he was like, man, I like this guy. And that was kind of where our relationship started and our friendship started. And he's been, I mean, he'd be one of the top 2 or 3 biggest mentors in my career and just in my life in general since then. And so it feels good to be compared to him, but yeah, that like what you had said, it was this year I kind of let my personality out a little bit more.
Yeah.
Even in the last couple of years, I've, sometimes gotten a little too in the moment. It's hard to take it in, especially when you're getting into positions of winning races and, fighting to win races and fighting for championships, and almost got a little bit too invested in it in the wrong ways.
Like a bit too close to it.
Yeah, in the last couple of years. And then I kind of talked about it a couple of times this year. Not really on the podium, but even in press conferences, and everyone was like, "Man, what's this like new you?" And I'm like, "It's not really. It's not a new me. This is just me. This is my approach to life."
And I'm cool with saying it.
Yeah, this is how my family knows me. And yeah, it was just last year. There was a few times when a couple specific races where I got passed on the last lap for second and passed into third, and I would be on the podium, and I remember being on the podium so angry, going back to the truck being mad about it on Sunday, and just being bitter about a lot of things. And then I got hurt and was out for the entire rest of the season after my surgery, and I got to spend a lot of time with myself. I've talked about it a couple of times, but I did a lot of bike rides from my house to the beach, and 5 hours by yourself, you get to do a lot of self-talk.
Yeah.
And what I came to the conclusion, like, man, I had so much to be appreciative of and so much to be grateful for, and I was focusing on what I was upset about. And now I don't have any of that right now. I don't have the health, the ability to even go fight for podiums and to be third place. And I was so mad about it. And I still have that. Like, none of that changed. Like, I want to win so bad. I got second 4 or 5 times this year, and I wasn't like, just, man, I'm so stoked that, I got beat tonight. No, but you also have to have that appreciation, or I do. It helped me, because I realized that being frustrated or all of that anger that I built up in the next couple of days after that, it didn't help me for the next weekend. It didn't change what the next weekend was, but it changed my self-talk for the next few days.
It changes like the way, there's like a ripple effect that, because there's your wife, there's your truck driver, and there's your mechanic, and like they all have feelings.
Exactly.
And any feelings and negativity or like prickliness or any of that, it then like is transferred to the next person and then transferred to the next. Like there is a crazy ripple effect of those feelings, and it's not like those feelings that you were having were going to help you next week. Like you were going to get up and ride the same amount. You were going to go to the program was the same, but it's like the way that you move through life and affect the people around. Like the whole like your vibe attracts your tribe sounds very hippie, but it's like very true, like it definitely rubs off.
Totally. And one of the things that I have really prided myself on is that no matter how I feel about the races, how I feel that I'm doing, if I feel that I'm performing or if I feel that I'm underperforming and I'm very unhappy with how that's going, I've really done my very best to not let that directly affect the way I treat my people, the way I treat my wife, my mom, my dad, my sister, all my people around me. Like, because what I did on Saturday night, they love me the exact same. They think of me the exact same. So they don't deserve for me to be, I guess, salty or just negative towards them. And for sure, if I have a bad result, my wife's going to be able to notice the difference in the way I am. And, but a lot of it's more so like the way she sees me talk to me. But yeah, that was just kind of something that I never really had an aha moment, but I know that I don't have a whole lot of years of doing this, and no one does. Like, if you think of life in general, this is such a small portion of it, and what I get to do, what I've worked so hard for so many years to do and to put myself in the position to be able to do, I need to enjoy this too, and it is so cool. I don't think I know one person who's retired out of their career that's like, man, I took it all in so good. No one. Yeah. And I'm not even going to feel that way. I wish it went by quicker. Yeah. I'm not going to feel that way either. But I want to do my very best to be able to take it all in as much as I can, because like these really are the days of my life. And I really had fun. Probably the most fun I've had in the season. Obviously up until it kind of ended prematurely, but even so, I'm only going to miss 2 races and I'm going to be back for outdoors, and I'm really excited for that too. But even down to the travel, the opportunity to be in a different city every weekend on a Friday night and
different dinners, different restaurants.
Go to a nice new restaurant. Yeah. My wife, Maddie, and I were talking about it on the plane one of the days, and it's like, man, how many people in their mid-20s get to, for starters, bring their spouse with them to their job, and which is something that's I grew up doing and waiting to get off school to go do. That was like my whole life, going to school.
In what way?
My job, like to ride dirt bikes. All I thought about during school was, man, I cannot wait to get off to go ride, because I had a little track in my backyard. But now I'm in my mid-20s. I get to fly around the world and go to all these super cool cities, new restaurants, and then on Saturday I get to wake up and go race my dirt bike for a living.
On like the best dirt bike.
Exactly. The best one, the one that I watched on TV.
The one that you always wanted to be on.
Yep. And bring my spouse with me. Like, that is so cool. So I need to really appreciate that. And I think that brought a better me out, I think, this year. And yeah, we really enjoyed it, and I'm really looking forward to the next few months doing it again, and then as long as I can do it, as long as I have the opportunity to do it, and it's really fun.
Man, it's so cool, like, to be your age and have that attitude. you know, because I think there's a point that you get to, or it seems like there's a point everyone gets to, you know, like I always say, every super rich dude I know just wants to mow his grass on a Sunday in a ride-on lawnmower with no shirt on, you know, so it's like you can kind of extrapolate that. So it's like you begin with the end in mind. And it's like all these people that get to the end of their career or the end of their life, or they've made a bunch of money and they've done they all say the same things. It's like, it's simple. Just be present, you know, and take it all in because it goes so fast. And it's like, we're so inundated with hearing that. And it's like, yeah, I'll get to that later. Like, he's right, but I've got to do this. So it's like, you know, to be in your mid-20s and to be like actually living it, you know, like that's not just a place you want to get to, but it's like you're really embodying that at such a young age. It's rare and it's cool. And I think, you know, that's my challenge in life.
Yeah,
you know?
and I'm trying, and that's another thing. I don't have it all figured out.
No,
But
for sure.
I have the understanding down that, yeah, and I guess kind of where I'm getting to is early on in my career, I guess when I signed my first factory deal with Geico Honda, I was like, man, this is it. And then it was like the next, it's always on to the next.
Yeah,
and,
when I get this, I'll be
yeah,
stoked.
and I've realized that like you almost are working to the end, but you're not. What the end of what? There's never, and for me, I'll work towards something for my whole life. That's what gets me out of bed in the morning. So I'm not working to the end. There is no end. I mean, I have goals in mind. I have end goals of the end of this season or the end of my career. Yeah, I want to win every championship. I want to, I want to do all of it, but I'm not working to the end.
And you're not waiting to be happy.
Yeah, exactly.
Until you
because
get that thing.
None of that thing ever has brought me happiness.
Yeah.
You have to create your own happiness, and in the process of doing it. And one thing that does bring me happiness is working really hard. Like that's, if I picture a great day for me, it really is to wake up and to go physically exert myself extremely hard and try to learn how to be the very best dirt bike racer I can be that day. And then go home and by 5 o'clock, take my dog on a run, hang out with my wife, have dinner, and go to sleep. That is like the best day for me.
Yeah.
And some people are different, but that's just, I love to wake up and do something that I feel really good about. And right now in my life, that is to become the very best dirt bike racer I can be and the best partner I can be and the best family member I can be to my family. That's what gets me out of bed in the morning.
Yeah.
So, and once my career of racing dirt bikes is over, there'll be something else that I want to work to be the very best at. And there's just not an end. I love to try and improve myself.
Yeah.
That's really enjoyable for me.
Progress and productivity, I think, is like, I've thought about like happiness over the last few years. Like, what is happiness? And it's like, I honestly think that progress and productivity are the things that make you feel happy. Like at whatever it is, like that. Whenever I'm like ticking boxes, kicking goals, like it's, and I think you can attach yourself to like an end goal, and then that can kind of like jack the program a little bit. But it's like if you just every day just chipping away, as long as there's progress, and it's almost not like it's never like a achievement that makes you feel good. That's kind of like the side that's like the trophy that's next to it. I think what actually makes you feel good is relief. And I think that the more relief you feel is based on like the more accountability that you've kind of stacked up on yourself, right? So like you're racing in a stadium as Cameron Mcadoo, your name's on the back of your jersey, you're getting paid to be there, you know, like your livelihood depends on it, you provide for your family, like you've got a team boss that has these so like think about all that accountability, you know, and so it's like you're working daily, and so like that you're making progress towards that, And then when you finally win a race or you finally get on the podium, like one of those goals, quote unquote, there's like this massive sense of relief because you did what you wanted to do, what you've been working toward. It's not the trophy, it's not the win, it's not the win bonus, that all that stuff's great.
It's not the thing.
Yeah, it's not the thing, but it's like it's the relief you get from the thing. You took on all this accountability. It's your name's you're not, like imagine if you, like the counterfactual of this would be like no one knows your name. You're on an all white everything. Your helmet stays on, So it's like the fact that it's you, like you've put yourself out there. It's your name. It's your body on the line. It's like I think that's the thing that really does feel good in the end. It's like that immense sense of relief of putting yourself out there, loading yourself up with responsibility, and then ticking those boxes. And then during that process, if you're being productive every day to get closer and closer, I think that's where like a real sense of like happiness and fulfillment comes from.
I would totally agree. And I think like when you load all that up, and a lot of it's self-accountability. I hold myself accountable for so much. And I love having that accountability. I love having
responsibility.
The responsibility. And like even down to Mitch Payton, my boss, I love working with him and riding for him because he has such a high accountability that he holds for me. He has an expectation. He has a belief in me, and he cares for me, even as a person. And so with me working as hard as I can every day, I have an expectation for myself. Maybe my fans have an expectation for me. My team has an expectation for me. They've hired me to do a job. They've hired me to win. Mitch works so hard. My mechanic, everyone works so hard for this one thing at the end. So then when you are able to achieve it, you are able to put it all together. In my position, like it really does feel that good. And even that's like this year, I've had some more emotion come out, and like been like when I got my win in Indy, it felt so good. Like just because of setback, and I've my career hasn't progressed in exactly the way I pictured it. Maybe 2021 when I was starting to become a podium guy every time or often in Supercross. I guess I had a picture of it being a little bit different and maybe going quicker, but I have progressed every year, slower than I, had wanted. But when you do have those hardships, it makes it feel that much better. I don't want to have them. I don't want to have them as much. Like I definitely didn't want what happened in Nashville to happen. But that's the thing. Like, I think that if I can, your best step is your next one, or the most important one, but that does make it feel that good. And I think that's what keeps us all doing what we do. I think that's what keeps Mitch loving owning a team, and he is a competitive man. He wants to win, and he works hard. He puts together a group of people who he believes in, and he hires riders who he believes in. So that feeling that I get when I win, and I'm down there on the floor and I won the race, and
he's smashing your champagne.
Yeah, exactly. He's getting that exact same feeling.
Yeah,
because he has the same accountability that he wakes up with.
It's his name on the trailer.
Yes, he holds the same accountability for himself, and I love that. I love being around those people. I love to be able to surround myself with the best.
Yeah.
And I've said it a lot of times this year too, when I keep saying, I'm just so grateful. Like, I am so grateful to be included and be one of the people who Kawasaki believes in, and Mitch Payton believes in, and all of my partners to do the job. That's something that's really cool that if you told Cameron Mcadoo 6 years ago that would happen, he would be like, nah, there's no way. So it's fun.
It's cool, man. And like, what made you then this year decide to come out of your shell a little bit, like be a bit more public facing with like this stuff? Because I guess, yeah, you said you hadn't really in the past, you know?
Yeah, I think I realized for starters, no one's ever been mad at you for being happy. And I think that, like it's just, I don't really, I'm somewhat of a private guy. It maybe doesn't seem so much like it, but the close things in my life are very private. And sometimes I don't really think people care that much about anything that I got going on.
Yeah.
And I'm like, even down to like posting stuff on socials, sometimes I'm like, no one cares to see that, like it's just because I really do feel like I am such a a normal guy. Like I'm the same as this guy, and like I don't really care what he's doing tomorrow when he gets home from work. Like, so I sometimes I fall into this like, yeah, people don't really care so much about that. And another thing is people don't care as much as you think about what you got going on. Everyone's worried about what they've got going on. Yeah, let myself be me all the time, and I am a happy-go-lucky guy. I do enjoy to be happy, and I put a ton of pressure on myself, and I enjoy it when it works. And I'm bummed when it doesn't, but I need to pick myself back up every time. Yeah. And I always do. I always will.
But it seems like you were very, like, much more, press conferences, podiums, like you just come across more like yourself, that you weren't as reserved, you weren't as like, just keeping things to yourself in that way, So it's like, I just wonder whether do you think that it's changing a little bit and it's like more acceptable now to have more of that kind of personality, or you just kind of go to the point where you're like, fuck it. Like, I'm just going to do me.
I think a little bit of it comes from my maturity, growing up a little bit, being a little bit older. And also another thing is that I want to be able to make my mark as much as I can on our sport.
Yeah.
And on my fans, the people that follow me. And I like, one thing for me was I want to be able to show any kid that's out there that wants to race dirt bikes or that wants to do whatever it is that they want, it is possible. And I've said it a few times that like I'm no different. And even Eli Tomac's a regular guy who is very exceptional at what he does. But it's possible. Like we're not robots. I have problems in life just like everyone does. I have successes in life, and what my biggest, issue is in life is no bigger or more important than the next guy that's sitting next to me at a red light. He might be stressed about or happy about his promotion at a job, or even just getting a job.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
This guy maybe he just got a job. It was his first time being hired. And that's the most important thing in his life right now. And maybe the most important thing in my life is, or, in the business end of my life is trying to win a Supercross championship. And
it's just all relative.
It's all relevance. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of something I want to be myself. I want people to see me as me. And I want my fans to be able to know me like my family does.
Yeah.
So that was kind of where that comes from. And if you want to be a Cameron Mcadoo fan because of the way Cameron Mcadoo is, then,
jump aboard.
Bring it in.
Yeah,
exactly. And I think that our sport needs all of our personalities, and all sport does.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think there's definitely been a change this year. I mean, maybe it's just because I've been at the races here more. But yeah, I just think everyone's kind of loosening up a little bit. I think the press here has been doing a pretty good job too with like some, trying to different things with like the questions in the press conferences and shit. But just, generally seems like you're one of the guys that's kind of like, you know what, this is me. I'm doing it. It's like less interview voice, less, like just the box podium speech. And I personally think it's cool.
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, sometimes I also had felt like in the past or when I was younger, like, man, as soon as the microphone gets in front of me, like I got to be like all, proper, but I am a pretty proper guy, I'm pretty I'm pretty square edged, and I don't have to be anything different than I am.
Yeah.
But also I come from such humble beginnings that it's not normal for someone to like come up to me with a microphone and a camera and be like, "Hey, I'm going to talk to you about this or that."
Okay. Tell me what you think.
Yeah,
You're like,
just
"I
in
don't
the
know."
in the past 6 years of my life, but growing up, I was just a kid in Iowa riding dirt bikes for fun, and my whole family loved it as a hobby, and that's what it was. But went to public school and did my thing. So, it's changes quickly.
I guess that's something that people probably don't think about. I mean, probably I don't even really think about that enough. It is kind of weird that, you can be a person like, I guess there's people that they enjoy that side of the sport. They like the cameras and that it's like Haiden would be, I mean, I don't even know if Haiden does, to be honest. He definitely plays a good character with, what he does personality wise. But I mean, there are guys out there like Kenny that enjoys just interact. It's like very easy for him to, be interactive like that. He's been famous since he was 13, probably, like there's those kind of guys.
Adam.
Yeah. Dude, perfect example.
Yeah, I'm fairly close with Adam. I've trained with him since 2020.
Yeah.
And become friends with him, and he even says, he's like, "Man, it feels like I feel so comfortable." And you can tell when he does have a microphone and he's in front of a camera that he feels at home and it feels right for him.
Yeah.
I could see him potentially, I think there's a pretty good chance that he's going to be in a position to have a microphone after his career, just because that's something he's so good at, and he doesn't have to try. He doesn't have to look for it.
Yeah.
But he, if you think about it, I remember when I went to Loretta's when I was a kid, I would go over and walk over by the Team Green pits and just look at Adam's bike and be like, "Holy crap."
Yeah.
And then everyone at Loretta's knew what time the Super Mini 1 moto was and the Super Mini 2 moto, because Adam was going to race.
Yeah.
And then you go to the line, or you go to the fences. The fences are lined. You can't even pull your golf cart up to the line, to the fence, because Adam Cianciarulo is racing.
Yeah.
That's really how it was. And I was like, and it seemed like something that wasn't real to me. I would walk over and I would see Mitch sitting there at the pro circuit, semi, and then Adam's bike was over the Team Green thing, and it was just like, wow, this isn't real. And so he's had a microphone to him when he was 10.
You compare that to your life.
Yeah, and it's just so different. Yeah, and that's why, like, it's pretty cool how in sport, or in our sport, there's so much difference. We talked about it kind of before on the podcast, or before we came on. I think like our sport needs look at the Lawrences and their the way they go about things. Deegan and then me, we're all so different, and we're all so different in so many ways. Yeah. And there's,
let's throw Nicoletti in there for
exactly. And it, like, how cool is that we get to have so many different personalities? And I think that can allude back to where we're all the same, because in general life, all of those personalities exist. Those types of people.
There's a lot of Phil Nicolettis in the world.
Yeah, and I don't give a crap, and like the showman, like there's all of them, or the humble guy that just does his thing, and you can count on him. That just happens in all work. So it's I think really fun for the fans to be able to see the personalities come out. And I think from what I've seen, in the last few years, multiple years, a lot of personalities have come out more.
Yeah.
When I was younger and I would watch like Carmichael and those guys, they were just so exceptional at racing. That was all I really knew. Which back then there wasn't so much social media, but it was far different too. Like the camaraderie between riders wasn't there. Like Carmichael and Stewart, or Carmichael and Reed,
didn't talk ever.
They didn't talk. No, absolutely not. They certainly didn't train together.
Yeah.
Now we have a lot of us training together, and it's just changed a lot. And different things work for different people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What we were talking about before, I guess, is pretty cool the way you said it. You know, like there's the Deegans of the world, and they make you look better, but you make the Deegans look better because
Totally.
you're super boring compared to like the Deegans. But the people that love the exciting, flashy guy can hey, go hang out with him. They make you make him look better.
Yeah.
But he makes you look better because you're just the nicest guy in the world. You know, like you're that humble, hardworking Midwest boy that everyone can relate to.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like without you can't have one without the other.
Exactly. I totally agree. And that's, like if depends on what you want to follow in the sport, or what you want to be a fan of, and no harm, no foul to anyone. Like
you like mint, you like choc chip.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's pretty cool that I guess it's pretty cool for me that I guess to make an impact on others.
Yeah.
And as an athlete and as a racer.
Yeah.
I never would have imagined.
What do you make of AC's retirement?
Man, he was so good.
He is
so good. He is so good. I raced him. I guess one of my biggest memories of Adam is 2019.
Yeah.
Because I got a fill in Supercross at Geico.
That was the Geico fill in, right?
And I was West Coast with him. And I remember I rode every time qualifying with him. I rode heat races, mains, all of that. And I remember like he's just so good. And I was like, holy crap. Like he was kind of like, I like, how could I be closer to him, Oh, excuse me. And yeah, he's had such a cool career, as in like keeps coming back, you know? It hasn't gone the way that maybe I guess what everyone else decided it was going to go, because he was so exceptional as an amateur. He shouldn't even be beaten. But
and he was exceptional as a pro until he got hurt.
Yeah, and I mean,
like he beat Blake Baggett in his first Supercross race, bro.
Yeah, like and also not even just until he got hurt, because he is exceptional on 250. But think about, he won, let's just say 95% of races from when he was on a 65 until he turned pro. And then to get beat, or, he got hurt and then got beat multiple times. He got sick in outdoors his very first year when he came on. He was sick. And to be able to take that and when all you've ever done your whole life is win, that's so impressive. And even, when he once he started winning on 250s, he could win every year. And then it gets forgotten about too. He got on a 450 and went to Monster Cup, and he won Monster Cup. He is the defending Monster Cup champion. And we always talk about this all the time. He is the defending Monster Cup champion.
He should just run a number one
forever.
plate every day at the Cowie track and be like, it's my monster bike.
Yeah.
It's my Monster Cup bike.
But then his first Supercross race at Anaheim 1, he was looking to win that race, and what was he, fastest qualifier 7 times in a row?
Yep.
And he's multiple 450 podiums. His first outdoor season, he fought Osborne, till the last moto at Paula, or at Fox Raceway, to an outdoor championship his rookie year. Like he was, I think if you could look at Loretta's, the mud race where he crashed and bent his bars down.
That's the championship right there.
That's, which he didn't win it, you know what I mean? But still, like, there's so many overlooked things. And what's been cool too is to see, I guess, from a closer,
like a personal
level, what he's dealt with the last 2 years, 2 or 3 years maybe, and still kept going, still comes to the track and rides, still shows up at the races. And like this year, he's gotten 12th, 13th a lot of times. And man, he's got way more.
He's better than that.
If certain circumstances don't hold him back because of his health, he's so fast. Like still a couple weeks ago, I'm just like, man, he is. And for him, he knows that way better than I do, even what he really is capable of. But drops the ego, comes, does his job as best as he can, And so like there's so many things about him that are really respectable that I'm stoked that I've been able to become friends with him and get to know him, you know, on a more personal level. But I think whatever he does do next, he's going to be great at it again.
Yeah.
And even that kind of goes back to what we started on about, you know, his next goals are going to be the best or the best that he can at whatever it is that he chooses to do next.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, he had very impressive.
It's pretty spot on to say that he shouldn't have been able to deal with adversity the way that he did. Like, he did not spend his life training to deal with adversity. He spent his life winning.
Exactly. And that's
that is pretty wild.
And it's so cool that like at a young, like when he turned pro, is he 16, I think?
Too young.
So maybe by the time he was 17 and 18, he was dealing with the pressures of, you know, winning at the highest level of racing and then not winning. And when that's expected from companies, from, you know, people that he's looked up to his whole life, his bosses, and to be able to push through that and to pick yourself back up and believe in yourself, that's really commendable.
Yeah. Yeah, and let's not forget it too about the chain in Vegas for the Supercross title.
Oh,
On the 250.
When he
was that he had the crash, but his like chain came off or something in that one, didn't
his
it?
bars bent.
Was it his bars bent?
Yeah, his bars bent.
Yeah,
And that was a huge night for me too. That was such a memorable night for me because my best result up to that night was 6th place. I had never gotten even in the top 5. And I was in second behind Ferrandis. And Adam was right behind me and right on me. And we were quite a ways in, and I heard the crowd go wild. And I thought to myself, oh, Ferrandis like fell over or something. I was like, I'm going to be leading this thing. And whatever, that didn't happen. 3 laps later, I came into Monster Alley and I passed Adam and he was rolling with his bars bent down, but he didn't pull off. You know what I mean? He was going to finish and I was like, I can't believe this. Couldn't believe it. And I ended up getting 3rd that night. So my first podium ever. That was a huge night for me. And then I remember when I rewatched it and they went over to the truck and he took an interview. That is like, that takes a lot.
That was a good interview too.
Yeah. That was straight from the heart. It was real. It was on the spot. And that was cool. Like that. I'm sure that made a ton of Adam Cianciarulo fans.
Oh, yeah.
So stuff like that he's done is really respectable.
Yeah, it's awesome when you really do go back and break it down. Like it is crazy the career that he's had, and yeah, if you drew it up, man, like it did not look like that.
Yeah, for sure. And that's another thing that I think is so cool about our sport is that if you go look at a lot of our careers, almost all of them, there's so many cool things about it, so many unique things and how crazy it is. If you know, Tomac, like how great he is, or Cooper Webb, how...
I don't know why, but I was literally getting in the shower last night and I just thought, fuck, I can't believe Tomac lost that championship. It just randomly hit me last night again. I was like, why am I even thinking about this? But like, think about how unlucky that was for him to lose. He would have been a 3-time champ.
Absolutely. And I think of how cool it is and how can you not be a Tomac fan when that happens? I mean, rupture your entire Achilles at this point in his career and at this age after he's achieved everything. Literally. Motocross champion, multi-time Supercross champion.
Motocross
of Nations. Every lights title you could. All of it, right? And he's at this point in his career and there's a young kid that came in who's so fast and no one can beat him and so on and so forth. And
Tomac's like, hold my beer, bro.
I'm gonna sign back up. You know, like whatever I'm gonna sign back up because I want to race again.
Yeah,
give me another challenge. That's so respectable. That's so cool. Like,
and then he wins.
He won again. You
Dude,
know, after
Arlington this year. You probably didn't get to watch it because it would have been right after your race. Oh, no, it was before because they were the first heat.
Yep.
Bro, he was ripping in that heat race. That was one of the coolest two-wheel experiences of my life. Like, we were in the Monster Suite looking directly down at that epic track.
Yeah.
And he came out first heat and just absolutely ripped the bag out of it, dude. And then beast mode in the 450 main event. Like, it was so impressive.
And a lot of times in the broadcast, they refer to Tomac when he goes into like beast mode. But when he does, and when you watch that, anyone out there who's ridden a dirt bike, not even to a high level, anyone out there who's ridden a dirt bike on a dirt bike track and done their best, whatever their fastest is, when you watch what he does, it's, oh my gosh, it's so crazy. Like, yeah, he knows, and everyone else knows, like, nothing's stopping him.
Just get out of my way.
Gosh.
Let me cook.
Yeah, I remember, I think it was, I don't remember exactly what year, but High Point. High Point must have been maybe 2022. I don't remember. But the way he was riding that track, he was the first turn where it's got kind of that, he was like smashing into the 2x4s and about like coming off.
I remember
the way he was riding, and I was just like, for starters, dirt bikes aren't made to ride like that. How is that thing staying together? And second off, how do you go that fast? How do you do that? And that's so cool to watch. That's so fun to see. And yeah, I want to be able to do that. And that's why I keep coming back and trying to be my best.
Dude, that race was sick. And you know what else was just like peak Tomac for me? One of his Daytona wins. It was on the Star bike. He pulls up to do the burnout, and the bike is just pissing steam and smoke out of the entire thing. Like 20 minutes. That's how long a 450 lasted underneath Eli Tomac. Like, I don't know how many minutes it would have run for, but it had not got much left. Like, the thing was completely fucked. And it's like, who else but Eli Tomac can roach a $300,000 YZ450 in 20 minutes?
He does it often too.
Oh,
very, very rarely at the end of a Supercross in the last 6 years, or as long as I've been paying close attention, do you not see smoke pouring out of that thing?
Out of
it. I remember the year that I won Daytona 2021. He won as well. He was on Cowie, and it was so fun. It was so cool. He when he was doing his burnout, he burned that thing down, and he got off this. He got off his bike. He was like, I mean, it was awesome. And I always talk about it. Man, my biggest regret at Daytona was not like, I said it this year a few times. If I get the opportunity to win Daytona again, because I did do a burnout, but I'm burning that thing down.
You didn't do a burnout.
Yeah, I'm gonna. If I get that opportunity again.
Did you ever see Prado's bike? The championship celebration when Prado won?
I didn't.
You didn't see that floating around on Instagram?
Mm-mm.
Bro, the bike literally caught on fire. The thing exploded. They just went so. There's all these gas dudes around it. The thing just let everyone just and they're still cheering and carrying on.
How awesome is that?
I mean, I thought it was pretty awesome.
The biggest one that like stands out to me was Ironman 2019 when Adam won his championship.
Yeah,
because I was in the pits because I raced that race, and all you heard until I went to my rental car was his bike on the rev limiter all afternoon. And I remember actually Mathis was like, he was so mad about it. Yeah, he was mad about it. But there's videos that they had Mitch on it. Mitch was on the bike, just rev bombing it. It was just like, and that's so cool. Like that shows you what it means to all of us.
Exactly.
What it means to Mitch, what it means to the crew chief, our team manager, our gear guys, everyone.
Everyone has a role in it.
Yeah, like look at how many people were underneath of that semi. And I think everyone was just as happy as the guy who raced the dirt bike and won the race.
Yeah.
And we all put so much into this, and we're all just massive dirt bike fans at the end of the day. And it's really cool what we get to do. It
is like the argument, the fun police argument is like, yo, you're gonna wreck the bike, and it's like everything is coming out of that bike. Like it's fucking done anyway. Like that photo to live on the wall of your shop until you're 65, 70 years old, like worth it. That thing is getting trashed anyway. Like Absolutely. Let's burn this bitch to the ground.
Yeah, I was talking to Nick a couple times about this, and because he was obviously part of that, and he told, I think it was Zach White that he told. And anyway, it was either Zach or Ian. He's like, if you guys really want to blow this thing up, let's turn the rev limiter all the way up on it. Like, plug it in and turn the rev limiter up. And they're like, no, we don't actually want to do that. Let's just rev it. And
It would just explode.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know I don't know well enough about it, but he's like, let's plug it in and turn the rev limiter basically off and see what it'll do. Like, just funny stuff like that.
I've seen cranks go through bottom of cases and stuff. Like, just the valves would just be going so fast. The springs would break and they just shoot straight through the.
It's wild what a 4-stroke engine does.
Oh yeah, I wonder what happened to Prados, because like I can't believe you didn't see the video, bro.
Yeah, I haven't.
It just fully literally lit up.
And that's what's pretty exceptional about what these guys have done to the engines and to the bikes to like keep them as good as they are.
Oh,
and
man.
how durable they are, even in stock form. If you go buy stock Kawasaki 450, like that bike is so durable in so many moving pieces, and it's pretty cool.
Man, if you were racing in 04, 05, like when Tedesco was here, he was like, bro, we did 50 bikes in a year.
Mm-hmm.
That's like one bike exploding a week with
Yeah.
the best mechanics in the world building and looking after the bike. And that's how shit they were.
Talk about like
Risk.
Risk is high for us right now, or just racing stressful in general. Like then
Add that into the
not
mix.
sure, yeah. Or
and
even
a Carby just ball.
yeah.
You would have rode Carby 250Fs.
No.
Never.
No,
the bog was just off tap. Bro.
I had one, but it was like I wasn't really on a 250 yet. My dad, I think, bought it from one of my buddies who was kind of hard up at the time, and I didn't really ride it at all. But my first 250 was a 2014 RMZ 250. So yeah, 2013 or 2014.
That makes me feel old.
Feel injected. Yeah, that was my first one. So no, I never rode a carbureted 250.
Oh, that was a shit.
I rode a 125.
Yeah.
But not for very long.
Yeah. Those old videos of like Barsha at Diamondback and stuff, and you're just like, like every time he lands, you just hear the thing bogging out.
And they've come so far.
It is actually insane. Like me and Marv were talking about it when he did the podcast, just how good a stock motorcycle is now.
So good.
It's actually insane.
Yeah. Yeah. It really is. And I haven't ridden a stock motorcycle in so long, because I haven't even really been able to go out to like any of the Kawasaki intro days or anything like that and ride the bikes. But they're so good. Like, and I remember when I was younger, like when I first started training to, maybe become professional. Or, I thought I needed everything. I remember Darian Snai was at Club MX, and he was on Team Green at the time, so he had Pro Circuit 8-kit suspension on his bike, and he had a monster helmet, and he had his bike looked like exactly like my current Pro Circuit, to me at the time, and I was like, how could I ever beat this? I have to have all of that in order. And I would call my dad and be like, I have to have 8-kit, and he's like, no, dude, we don't even have your stock stuff revalved good enough to even like we haven't even found its limited even close. But the perception is like it's everything. You have to have it. But yeah, the stock bikes are really good.
Have you rode the new 450?
I have not.
Dude, you gotta ride that thing.
Yeah, I haven't ridden one yet. We always have like a 450 for if it's pouring in Southern California for 2 weeks and we have to go ride some hills tracks or sand tracks. But I never ended up riding one this year.
It's really good.
Yeah. And
really
I think that I've heard they're changing the 250.
They'll probably go to that new
chassis.
Yeah, yeah.
So that usually they do like
at
2 years after.
Yeah, first year and then go on to that. It's awesome though, man.
Yeah.
Like the 450 is really good.
Good.
I'm a big 350 guy,
Actually,
but I liked it.
I think you were out. Were you out there for the Kawasaki intro at Glen Helen?
No, I missed the invite.
Okay.
I was dirty.
It was like raining that day. We rode Supercross, and then we went down there and were just chatting with the guys, and they were doing the thing. But
yeah. We actually did a lot of moto days at Glen Helen last year.
Yeah, because I was just getting back on the bike like end of September, and I did a lot of outdoor riding. Yeah. Just because I've missed outdoors for the last few years, so it was like perfect time for me to just put some outdoor time in because I really want to improve my outdoors and Yeah, you were training for the vet worlds, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I saw you all the time.
Yeah,
and
I could
Paula
just
quite often
yeah,
too.
I
Yeah.
could just literally count on every time I went and rode. I'd wait till you pulled out, and I'd just go out on track, and I'd follow you could literally just see your lines like
Yeah.
around the track, but I could just always count on you being there, and
Yeah.
just being pumped and like yelling at me every time you
yeah.
come past. So
Yeah, good
it was
stuff.
it was actually one of the more fun. It was like one of the more fun couple months of my life ever, really. You know, like because my visa here, I'd been waiting for years. Like it was 5 years since I left and was trying to get back, and COVID and like just all the stuff that went on, you know. And when I first lived here, I never rode. I basically had like 8 years of not riding because I didn't have any insurance, and I rode a bunch as a kid and I kind of sucked. And then I was like, no, I'm just surfing and working while I was over here. So you spend all your life wanting to ride Glen Helen, wanting to ride Parla, wanting to ride all these places. And then when I got here, I didn't ride.
Yeah.
But then because of the podcast, I got way back into riding. And then it was like, we got the visa. My wife was here. She was coming to the track every day. Maddie was going to the track with you.
Yeah.
And it was like the first time I'd ever just got to almost like, just kind of like live life as like a pro in a sense.
And you were
like,
working towards something.
Exactly.
Kind of like what we were talking before. Like you're always working towards something with your podcast. Like I said, with the studio in here, and like this is so cool what you've built with this, and even the following and the people that you've brought on. But you were working towards something different. Like you wanted to be your best you at the Vet Nationals. And so you had like a purpose to be the best dirt bike racer you could every day. And that feels so cool
It's so much fun.
And it's endless.
Yeah.
You'll never not be able to get better at it. And that's what's fun.
It was cool as well to go through because it was very simple. Like I was still working and, you know, but like if I can get away with like not working every single day. You know what I mean? So it's like I had flexibility. I was like, I had cool bikes. I had time, and I was like, I just blocked it out. And it was almost the first time living like you would try and live as like a semi-pro moto dude, you know? And it was like, that came first. Everything else was secondary. And it was just an easy decision every day. I'd get up Tuesdays and Thursdays. I rode at Glen Helen. Sometimes I'd ride another day at Parla. And it was just like, go to the track, put 20 minutes on my stopwatch, and just do motos, you know? And it was so simple and so fun. Then I'd go for a 5K run, and it was just like really, really enjoyable to like get into that rhythm, you know?
Definitely. And that's like even something that sometimes you got to pinch yourself in my position, because sometimes it feels like it's
a grind.
So not simple. But man, like think of I don't bring a dirt bike to the track. I get,
you guys are killing it.
I have it so made.
Yes.
But I also, there's so much attention.
You don't have to fucking wash the thing.
Yeah, but there's so much attention to detail to what I'm doing. Like it takes the very highest level of mental focus.
Yeah.
And that's what's really cool, and what I'm grateful to be in the position to be able to do is that I've got people who take the washing the dirt bike off the plate, take all that in to where I get to show up to the track and have a fully manicured best dirt bike that you can't even really get it, but that there is, you know, ready for me to go do my best on. So when I leave the track, all I got to think about is what could I have done better?
Yeah.
What do I need to eat this afternoon? What do I have to do this afternoon? And that's another thing of why anyone that's kind of followed me close, or anyone that's close to me, they know that I'm very strict with my diet. I'm very strict with my sleep, my recovery, my training, because for me, the way I work is I can't take myself very serious eating something bad, because I'm like, that might not change how it goes on the weekend, but is that me putting my best foot forward when, you know, my mechanic or my team is at the shop at whatever time at night? Like, if I'm confident that everything I do that I feel that could affect my racing in a positive manner or a negative manner, if I'm confident that I did everything that I could do or that I was in control of, I'm happy.
Yeah, it's easy to sleep at night.
I'm going to go give myself, you know, I'm happy on Saturday, because I guarantee you that there's nothing I left on the table. And that's when I started. Honestly, even when I started, when my parents let me go to club to train and take it seriously, that was the biggest thing that they were like, no matter what happens with this, as long as you put your best foot forward every time. And when we talk to, Brandon and the trainers and everything, is that like, you're doing everything, whatever the result is, whatever.
That's perfect.
Yep. And that was how I was at the beginning of my pro career, and how, at the end of my career, I'm going to be happy knowing that I did everything I could. Whatever it is that I'm able to achieve, I'm not going to leave anything on the table. And that's just kind of my approach to life, and that's what makes me click for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the goal. Like that should be the goal. Like that's the simplest way to live a life is like, I think it's hard though in like the everyday life. I think it's harder because like there's so many more variables, and that's where I think, guys like yourself, it's not luck, but it's like, that's one of the perks of the position that you're in, is that if you do it right and if you have that philosophy and you commit to that philosophy, then you do get to live like a very simple, easy life. And I remember, not so much when I was doing the podcast, but more when I was like working with race teams and stuff, there'd be some riders that just had the shittest attitude, like just the fucking shittest, and their results were shit too.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, do you not understand how many people would fucking kill to just be able to go to the track? Your bike's already there.
Yeah.
It gets washed for you. Like, all you have to do is your best.
Totally.
That's it.
Yeah.
And like, there's all this drama and there's all this carry on and there's all this attitude and there's all this like, bro, I would fucking kill to do. I'm not good enough to do that.
Yeah.
I'd love to do that, And so many guys had that attitude throughout their life. And like, Marv was another one, I was like trying to dig into his backstory a little bit, and he's just like, man, I just did me best, eh?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
That's like his answer,
Totally.
like his life. He's like, I had all these good people around me, and I just went there and just tried my hardest, and it worked out.
And there's also some guys who, to have, I don't want to call it a bad attitude, but to be like not just stoked on everything and great.
Yeah, not frothing.
Yeah.
Like.
That some guys, that's what makes it work for them. That works for them, and that's what like makes some guys tick. And
That is true.
It's like different strokes for different folks. Like, even this isn't really a very good comparison to that, but like Cooper Webb, when he's mad,
yeah,
I know I've talked to people, or I've heard about stories about when people who work with him closely or who have, like, they'll try and fire him up because like he almost has to he gets himself mad because
Chad Reed was like that too.
If Coop's fired up,
yeah,
everyone else is in trouble.
Yeah, yeah.
And for me personally, if I get mad at someone else on the track or something, it's not good.
Yeah,
I ride bad.
Yeah.
I start. Yeah. So it's just so different for how everyone kind of has to approach their work to do their best, you know? And I'm still learning how I can do my best. I'm learning about things that, hey, you weren't putting your best foot forward in that aspect, but now you found out this that you can do, and you can try that. Like, that's the funnest part of progression and working to be like good at something or great at something.
Yeah.
It's really fun.
What do you make of Coop and Jett, the battle? Like, since you've got the pressure's come off you to like be in there racing, like you kind of get to just be a fan now. Like, what do you make of the last few weeks and the next couple? Your professional opinion.
It's very impressive what Cooper has done in the whole season in general.
Did you think he was going to be that good on Star?
I thought he was going to be really good, yes, just because I knew that he thought he was.
Yeah.
So
good point.
He was very confident in his decision moving to back to the Yamaha. He's confident in the people there, and again, like I said, that guy's got the biggest chip on his shoulder out of anyone, and I'm sure he wanted to prove to everyone that was very sure that was a bad move that, hey, let me show you guys. So whether the bike is better or worse or whatever it is. Like the bike that he was on prior to Star, that bike is great. All of our bikes are great.
Yeah.
But I think that he was very sure of his move, and that was why I was pretty confident that he was going to be good. And he's Cooper Webb. He's a 2-time Supercross champion. Like, that's not by accident. But what he's done how he's capitalized.
How he's done it.
And just the way sometimes he'll, even in qualifying not be.
He's nowhere.
Yeah, but then, man, when he has the opportunity to make it count, he makes it count. And like how many points he dug back in such a short amount of time. And then I remember watching him in qualifying in Foxborough.
Yep. Just
he was
ripping
fast.
Yeah.
Like, and he was there like, I'm here to win tonight. And he's there all the time like that. But he just, as soon as he had that confidence of like, I think I'm going to win this title, he's like going for it, And that's so cool to see. Like, even when, was it Seattle that he got the one that he won with crazy arm
that
pump?
might have been like one of the best rides ever.
You could tell he had arm pump, like as a racer, as a fellow racer.
How good was Ricky's call of that too?
Yeah, he was right when Ricky said it. I was watching it on TV. I'm like, oh, he's so right.
Yeah.
And I don't get arm pump often, like, but when I do, it's
debilitating.
Oh, it's how he literally won a 450 Supercross riding with that severe of arm pump for 10 minutes is like, that's Coop. He's like, I'm winning this thing. Doesn't matter how, I'm winning it.
Yeah.
So that's fun it would be really fun to be just strictly a fan at this point right now. Like, cause I'm obviously, again, worried about myself. I'm worried about what I'm doing so much that I'm not even really invested into it. I watch the races. I watch live timing. I'm, watching film to see what are these guys doing that I could pick up on or whatnot, especially when I'm not, riding. But it's a good time to be a fan in this sport for sure.
Who's winning the title? You think Jett's got it? It's just crazy after last year. Like, how do you even make a prediction?
Yeah.
Last year was so mind-blowing and heartbreaking and gut-wrenching. Like, that was everything it means to be like a sports fan was Denver Supercross last year. Like, it gave everyone every emotion.
I can't put a prediction on that, but what I do want is I would like to see Tomac win this weekend in Denver.
Probably will.
How cool would that be?
That will be epic.
After last year.
Think about the crowd,
Denver.
dude.
I mean, the crowd there for Tomac it's unbelievable. You can hear it on TV.
Yeah.
What was it? 2022. Did he clinch his title there?
Maybe he did.
I don't remember exactly, but like, it's crazy, the Tomac fans in Denver. But after what happened last year, that would be so cool to see. Yeah.
And he's great on those tracks.
He is. He's great on all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, yeah, man, 450 classes. Yeah. I mean, our sport is gnarly right now, just in general.
Well, you were saying before that you're almost glad that Jett's doing what he's doing because you've spent the last couple of years getting towed by him and you're just like, see, wasn't me. The guy's just that fucking good.
Like, yeah, gosh, I tried so hard. And I remember Indy 2022, like that race sticks out to me because I started second behind Jett, and then he was jumping the whoops from the beginning, and I was like, man, I had a skim line, I had a blitz line on the left, but I was like, I know as soon as I show this to him, he's just gonna start blitzing him, and there was a few lines around the track elsewhere that I was able to do, and I was right on him, so I could see what he was doing and what I was doing and what was working better. It was almost like having dartfish in the semi.
Yeah.
But I was like, I couldn't. He's so good, and he had so much speed that I couldn't take my time to pass him. If I'm gonna pass him, I can't just take my time and not give him my line away or something.
Not like pick a spot because it took everything.
Yeah,
to stay
and
there.
if the opportunity presents itself, this might be the last time in this 15 minutes that it presents itself. Because I remember watching on the broadcast, I think RC was kind of like, yeah, like Cameron needs to just take his time here. And I was just like rewatching. I'm like, man, I couldn't. Like, if that opportunity came, I needed to take it. And I did. I passed him. And sure enough, next lap he started blitzing the whoops, and then I ended up actually following a lapper into the sand, and he got me there. But yeah, I knew like there were so many races where I was like just kind of close, but I'm like, man, he was just far enough ahead to where like, what was he doing? And he was hard to race. He was hard to race, and he's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, for all you guys, like even, Levi, like I think it's cool what Levi's doing this year because, I mean, there were times when you see those two race and Levi got a good start and you're like, Levi's fast. Like Levi's really, really fast. And to see, I mean, yeah, like he just dominated the class over the last couple of years, but it must be a relief to see him go into the 450 class and be like,
it kind of was,
woo!
But yeah, I was like, man, like I'm glad he's as good as I thought he was, because obviously when 2022 more in particular, like he was my main competitor. Like it was in the beginning of Supercross, it was like I felt like I wasn't worried about anyone else, but like trying to figure out how I could be 18. And when you get invested like that, like, yeah, I'm glad he was as good as I thought he was, because I'm like, man, he is so good. And I'm not sitting here thinking I'm something spectacular, but I was like, man, how's he doing some of the stuff he's doing? And yeah, he's a really good racer.
What is it with his speed?
Obviously he, as everyone can see, he has exceptional technique on the motorcycle, but his focus under pressure is pretty exceptional, especially for his age. And I think that where he focuses his effort is very specific, very precise. And I think a lot of it also comes from watching his brother for years. I think Hunter gets discredited from what he's done, like for Jett, just because he's watched his brother go through a lot of trial and error from back when they were in MXGP and Jett was 11, you know, and the way that Dazzy kind of keeps a hand on helping those guys, and they do really well at helping each other. And but I don't really know one thing. I haven't ever really been that close to them, obviously.
Yeah.
But just from the outside looking in, yeah, he's got extremely good focus and extremely good talent and technique.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, I mean, it must be, like, if you think about, let's say you've just got an older brother that's a couple years older, and every motor you've ever done in your life was with another dude that was older than you and faster than you to a point. Like, until you got on a big bike and then you ended up, like, that's a pretty insane advantage.
Yeah, that for me, that was my sister.
Really?
Yeah. And that's, I mean, at such a different level than Jett and Hunter when they were racing MXGPs, and Jett's in the EMX class. But yeah, it is a huge carrot to chase. My sister, I chased her as she was my carrot to chase my whole life, whether it be dirt bike racing or just success in general or how to be a person in general. I've looked up to her since the day I can remember and till today. I racing up until I was on an 85, she was always faster than me.
No way.
Oh yeah.
I didn't even know she rode.
Yep. Like, the first 3 years I went to Loretta's and qualified, I qualified as an alternate. And the only reason we actually made the drive to go there was because my sister would qualify. And
That's
after
so sick.
after the second year that I qualified, because I would go there and get, we could look up my stats, but I would get 25th to 30th just because I'd finish all three motos. That's the only reason I'd be in the 30s, or in the early or like the low 30s because I'd finish all three motos. But beyond that, I was, just barely made it. And I remember after the first couple of years we went, I was an alternate, like maybe the third year, and my sister had qualified and we went, and I was like fourth alternate. And I was going there, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not racing this year. I'm going to get to play in the creek all weekend. Like, this is going to be the best week.
Fun, yeah,
this is going to be sweet. And then they went up to sign up for my sister, and I was hanging at the camper, riding my BMX bike around, just being a kid. And my dad came back to the camper, and he's like, guess what? And he was all stoked. And he's like, he threw a bib to me. And I remember being like,
No.
oh, I have to race. Yeah. But yeah, my sister was, yeah, she was actually why we got into racing. She made a bet with my dad, or not racing, but just got dirt bikes in general. She made a bet with my dad. I don't remember what it was over. It was like $100 or whatever. And there was a flesh wound 80, KX flesh wound 80 on the side of the road for $200. And she made a bet with my dad, and she had 100, and he split it with her, and that was where dirt bikes started for us.
That is crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's literally as grassroots as it gets.
Yeah, and it stayed grassroots until, we would race some nationals. We would try and qualify for Loretta's just because it was something so much fun for us, and it was so cool to us. And that was like our family vacation for the summer. And then we raced local races pretty often and as much as we could. And we would usually do 1, maybe 2 trips down to like Oklahoma or Texas in the winter, because it was, from October to April, you can't really ride in Iowa.
Yeah.
So during Christmas break in school, like we would head down and get the red Oklahoma dirt on our boots and be so stoked and have the time of our lives.
What did you used to do when it was too cold outside to do anything?
I lived on an acreage. I grew up on an acreage in some like woods, and it was kind of hilly and stuff. And I would sled, snowboard. In the winter, you get off school and you only got about an hour of light left. So one year we did stud a tire on a 110. That's a good time.
That would have been
That was maybe some of the best memories, is shredding in like a foot of snow on a 110 with a studded tire. Yeah, that was a good time. But yeah, just like did kid stuff.
Yeah.
Played in the snow, built snowboard jumps, and would go inside and bother my sister to come outside and watch me hit it. And she was like, a lot of times she was like maybe 12 or 13. So she was like getting to be kind of cool.
Yeah.
She was pretty cool. And I was we're 4.5 years apart. So I'm like 9. She's like 13. She has her first laptop.
Yeah,
computer.
you're pretty lame at
She's
this
got
point.
no time for me. And I'm like, come watch me, And then I crash and I'm bleeding, and she has to call my mom because we got to go to urgent care because I had a stick go in the back of my mouth and I'm bleeding everywhere. Like, yeah, that was, she dealt with a lot with me, but yeah, that was, and then I just couldn't wait for spring to ride my dirt bike.
Yeah. What, how old was she when she went into the Navy?
She was 17 when she enlisted.
No way.
Like growing up, she had Marine posters in her room. She was going to be a Marine. Like she's like, I'm going in the military. I want to be a Marine. And she's, if you know her at all, or if you've even seen her, she's gnarly. She's gnarly. She beat me up my whole life. Still could to this day in a straight up fight,
No shit.
Oh yeah.
So she was just gnarly forever.
Gnarly. Tomboy growing up, just we'd go to the skating rink, and she's beat up 2, 3 that I can remember. Kids when we were 16, when she was 18, I was 15, like defending me, like, actual real deal. But yeah, she enlisted when she was 17. Actually, they were going over to the recruiter's office, and my mom obviously did not want her to be a Marine.
Yeah.
And they accidentally walked into the Navy doors. And if you've ever been in a military recruitment office,
they don't let you out.
They grab onto you. And my mom was like, thank goodness,
Yeah.
So yeah, she's been in the Navy since, I think she went into boot camp when she was 18. And
did she ever tell you like what made her want to do it from such a young age?
No, I've never asked her. And I might ask her that this weekend.
Yeah,
when I
because
see her.
it's such a unique thing, like especially for a young lady to want to do. But like, I wonder like if she read a book, if she watched a movie, if she, like
For sure, yeah. That's interesting.
Because it's a very unique thing for a person like her to do.
The way she approaches it is,
because she seems like a gangster.
She is, yeah. She's climbed the ranks of whatever she possibly can at the very highest level, the very quickest. Like she just, I just got the opportunity back in October to pin her chief. She's chief in the Navy now, so she's E7, I believe. Don't quote me on that. I'm not totally positive. I'm pretty sure that means E7, but as fast as she could possibly rank up, she's ranked up in the Navy, and has a huge amount of responsibility. She loves carrying the responsibility. I've been able to, now that we both live in California, she's stationed in San Diego. We actually live together. We bought a house together.
Oh,
and
sick.
yeah, so she stays down in San Diego quite often because it's a bit of a commute back up to our house. But now that I'm around it closer, it is exceptional the amount of accountability you have to have for yourself. I mean, she gets up at 4 a.m, heads in, and she's in charge of a lot of people. It's not all sunshine and rainbows at all, and she puts a smile on her face, goes to work. I've never heard her come back and complain about this, that. She's not a poor me person at all. So those are like the types of things that I so look up to as my, being my older sister, and she's taught me so many things in life, just in general, and a lot of that, I take that to my racing. You know? Like I want to make her proud just as much as I want to make my mom and dad proud. Yeah. So that's fun.
Has she done tours and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think
she would have done. And I think in the Navy, you're fairly active no matter what's going on.
She's done 4 deployments. Yeah. So she's on an aircraft carrier.
Yeah.
And she's on her
gangster.
She's been on 2 different aircraft carriers, and her first role, when she went on, was she launched and recovered the aircraft off the carrier. So she was on the flight deck, hooked the plane up, launch them, catches them. That was her role. And she's kind of gone up into now, I believe her role is she's in charge of the crew that launches and recovers the aircraft and the crew that works on the arresting gear engines, which they're like massive diesel engines down inside the carrier.
Yeah. Are they the ones that are hooked up to the rope or the chain essentially that's on the, so it'd like release it slowly?
So those catapults it's a metal cable about this big around, and it goes down into the ship, and there's tons of that cable with these massive diesel engines that they pull it back and they launch it off, and then it's sitting there, and when the aircraft comes down, it actually lands like pretty much wide open, because if they miss the cables, they have to take off
again. Yeah.
And that catches it, and those diesel engines, it's the way she's explained it, it's more kind of like a hydraulic, and it slowly releases it out to catch the aircraft. So that's her role, I think she's kind of in charge of a lot of the people. She does more office stuff now, and she has an office down in the ship, but has a huge responsibility there, and it's such a high risk job. Yeah. Actually, my mom got to do the family cruise during the weekend of Foxborough, which was they went out to sea for the day on Saturday. I was so bummed I had to miss it, but and they did like flight operations, launched and recovered aircraft, and my mom was like, oh, it is insane.
Like the stress.
She's like, even us, she's like, we were just up there standing so close to these planes just exploding off. And my mom knows the journey. Like, she raised myself and my sister. Like, we're not the way we are because we had
normal parents,
nervous parents, or normal parents. Yeah. Like, my mom grew up on a farm. My dad's they've both been high level athletes, and so for my mom to be like, wow, it was crazy,
says something.
Yeah, exactly. And my sister's very much so, just like she's never acts like anything's a very big deal. She never acts like any of the problems that she's dealing with at work are a very big deal, even when they are pretty gnarly, or like something I'm doing is so exceptional. That she's never like that something that she's doing is so exceptional. And it's even funny because she'll have friends at work after, like, we did an episode for the military appreciation race that we filmed on her ship, and obviously a lot of people watch Supercross now, and people came back to the ship and they're like, because her last name is Poskovich, actually. So her biological dad and we don't have the same biological dad. Yeah. So they're like, your brother's Cameron Mcadoo? And they're like, what? Like, what? And she's like, yeah, he's my brother. Like, she doesn't care about my racing. She cares so much about my racing. But you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
she's just not one of those people.
I'm just her little bro.
Yeah.
And nothing about my racing has anything to do with what she thinks of me. And she was like, yeah, he races. Yeah, that's what he does.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it was. But
so where's she been deployed?
She's been Persian Gulf. They kind of go all around. Like
Yeah.
a lot of our deployments are in different areas, but the last one I think they were in the South China Sea, and they were just kind of
That's sketchy.
patrolling the.
Keeping Taiwan safe.
Yeah, I think it sounded like what their role was then was just to keep that shipping channel,
Yeah.
like make sure that the waters are good and
That no one's fucking around.
Yep. I think one of her first or second deployments, she was in some very dodgy areas. We can always tell if she's in dodgy areas based on the communication that we have with her.
Yeah.
They'll cut our communication completely for extended times, and it's like, man, talk about stressing a mama out.
Dude, I know, right?
My mom's like, because I know the reason I can't communicate with my daughter is because
There's some gnarly shit going on.
Yep, exactly.
They're in a real pickle.
Exactly. Yep. So a lot of notes back and forth, and you might not get them for weeks, but
Yeah.
they go as like her ship has, I believe, a destroyer in front of it and behind it. And I believe they go with one or two submarines, because it's such a big ship and it's slower. So that's all of that is to protect that carrier.
Yeah.
And they go as a squad.
Rolling
Yep.
deep.
It's gnarly.
Dude,
It's gnarly.
it's so gnarly.
Yeah.
Eh? We can't do a race like the Gypsy 500 or really anything dirt bike related without first making an online pit stop at motosport.com. On our YZ250 project build, we went hard in the paint for everything from our Pro Circuit pipe and silencer to our boys and reeds and everything in between. The same goes when we're getting ready to take on a huge challenge like World Vets last year at Glen Helen, and the Gypsy 500 is no different. To prep for this insane event, we need to kit out our 4 Stark Vargs with moose tubes, hand guards, and some super soft grips, as well as our sag tool and more. To get your bike or body ready to race or ride in 2024, motosport.com should be your first destination. They have the biggest range, the best deals, and no one has more reliable shipping or better customer service. Motorsport makes it possible for us to make our crazy ideas come to life, and they can make it happen for you too. Head to motorsport.com to kickstart your riding season. The consequences of what we do, what I do, it's like,
water?
Yeah, it's for you, bro.
Sick.
It's so silly.
Totally.
We're so silly.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing here right now? You know,
Exactly.
in comparison, like some people just have insanely real fucking lives. Like really, really gnarly consequences.
And it's kind of like, it's almost just like what we say as Americans, or, wherever you're at, whatever country you're in, thank you to the military. Like if it weren't for them, we couldn't do what we do. But when you have a family member directly in it, you really realize if it weren't for them, like we have a lot to be like, we have to thank them for so much. And what they do is not something that's just like fun.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have any freedom. They don't have, they're...
Yeah, your family can't even talk
That
to
is
you.
their life.
Yeah.
Yep, that is their life.
You
And-
literally sign your life away.
Yep, exactly. So like we really, there's so much we have to be grateful for them, and this country's pretty awesome to be in.
Dude, it blows me away. Like, we travel a lot with what we do, and then my wife is from Russia, and like...
I didn't know that.
Oh, you didn't know?
No.
Yeah. So she's born and raised in Russia.
Wow.
Yeah. So she left when she was 16. She did medical school, and then she was like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm not going to be a doctor in Russia. So she bailed. So then she lived in China. And so she spent basically her early 20s living by herself in China, taught herself Chinese, like the whole deal, right? And so I'm a little Aussie boy with a great family. We grew up in a pretty rough area, but nothing, we just didn't have to deal with the things that a person similar age, born in Russia, just even where a passport can and can't go. And the places we can go as a couple, she's my wife, extremely limited based on where she was born. And then you go and you live in China, and you see how people get treated, and you see the living conditions, and you see what freedom is. And, then we spend a lot of time in the Middle East, and you'll see like this totally different culture there. And you see like the lowest end of society in the Middle East versus the lowest end of society here. And, you know, you get this very global perspective. And I hear people talk shit on America or Australia, and it's like, yeah, there's definitely a lot that can be fixed. But oh my God, are we lucky?
When you talk about that, that kind of brings me back. This goes back into racing, but in Nashville a couple weekends ago, we were leaving the track, and I told Maddie and my mom. My mom made it to Nashville, so we were all in the rental car together. And I said, if this is the biggest problem that I have to deal with in my life right now, like if this is the hardest thing for me to wrap my head around, the hardest, you know, heartbreak.
If this is hardship.
Yeah. If this is the worst that I've got it.
Yeah.
I've got it so good.
Yeah.
I've got it so good because, like you just said, what, you know, the living in different countries and how worldly you guys are and what you guys have experienced, what your wife has experienced and grew up seeing and grew up as, like, yeah, if losing the opportunity to win a Supercross championship in America, you know, like drive a nice car home from whatever, if that's the worst it is for me, like I've got it really good. Yeah. And those are the things that I've been able to kind of bring myself back to, like, realize some of the things that I have so good. I've got a job that I can provide a house that's comfortable and vehicles to drive and
food on the table.
Yeah, really. And I kind of got us way off topic here, but
no, but it's like there's no one coming to blow your house up.
Yep.
There's no risk of a missile landing.
Nope.
Like when we were living in Bali at the time when like the Russia-Ukraine war happened, and a lot of Anna's best friends are Ukrainian. And there was literally her best friend, like one of her oldest friends, was in hospital in Kiev giving birth to a baby, and they evacuated the hospital while she was in labor, like waiting to have her first ever kid because they were fucking bombing the hospital. And you're just like, that's
doesn't
real.
Seem real.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem real. And I think the only I still can't understand that it's real. I think the only way to really understand how real it is you'd have to really experience it because it still seems like it's out of a movie. I remember when all the Ukraine stuff was going on, when it was big. It might still be going on.
Yeah, it's the same
we don't
shit.
really know. It's
Bro,
all we know is what we can see on the news.
I just had friends go there, right?
Yeah.
And so this crazy Australian dude, Craig Jones, he's like a big jiu-jitsu dude. He went to Ukraine with my old housemate, went to film. And they were in Ukraine, in Kiev, doing a jiu-jitsu seminar and then like donating money to a bunch of veterans that like literally missing arms, legs, everything. And they were posting stories for like the 2 weeks that they were there. Fucking crazy, dude. Like straight up missile sirens 24/7. They were staying in this hotel. They walked like 75 yards to a huge crater in the ground where like and that's like last week.
We're like pretty naive to it, you know?
Yeah.
And like I said, like for myself personally, I guess I'm speaking just for myself, but all I really know about it, or as much as I really know about it, is what I'm able to see on the news or what I see on social media and what I'm told, right? Like, and that's so skewed. We don't really, we only know the information that's shared with us. And, but like, yeah, I guess where we got to this point from was that
there's a lot to be grateful for.
There's so much. And I think a lot of us are so focused on, all the things that are maybe wrong in America, or whether it's politics, whether it's how the country's run, whether it's taxes. Trust me, I pay a lot of taxes.
Yeah, you know about
it's
taxes.
Not fun.
I know about taxes.
I don't enjoy them.
They really hurt.
But you know what I really do enjoy?
Freedom.
Yeah,
real freedom.
My life.
Yeah,
being able to choose my job.
Yeah.
To earn the money to pay my taxes, and if I don't have a fix for it, then I'm not gonna voice myself on it. And yeah, like it's the greatest country, and I think that if it's not, and if it's so bad, go elsewhere.
Yeah, or just
Try
actively try and fix it.
Yeah, or exactly.
You know,
Go in the military.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Fix
join
it.
the military,
or become a politician or whatever it is that.
But you do
floats your boat.
get a really good look at the realities of that side of life.
Yeah.
You know, because you might not be on the ship, but you've got part of you on the ship.
Yeah, I've been on there a couple times. Again, I would never be able to be in the military.
Yeah.
I mean, I would not be able to live on that ship for 9 months, 12 months, however long it is, or go to that ship daily and spend 12 hours, 10 hours on it daily. And, you don't make your own decisions so much. You don't.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, it's very tough.
Yeah.
And I would not be cut out for it. I might be super gnarly and, man, Mcadoo will try everything.
You can do a 5-hour cycle at
he's a bad
140.
dude. Yeah, cool. You can ride a bicycle or you can race dirt bikes fast and hard. I'm like, you're not that tough guy.
Have you ever thought about
That's how I think about me.
Yeah. I always wonder with that, like, what it would take for me to join the military. You know, like, I think, like, if Australia ever got invaded, like, actively invaded, it's like, would I go home? And, I guess it would all come down to, like, are people directly coming to fuck up my people?
Yeah.
But, like, even the thought of that, I'm like, I don't even know what it would take for me to, like, sign up, go home, get a gun, and like, just, like, defend my shit. None of us will, like, ever even have to make that decision, hopefully. But it's like, there's people that are willing to just sign up and do that today.
And that's like, for me, I say, I could never do it. I'm also a big figure it the F out guy. I'll always, whatever I'm faced with. So if I had to, I'll figure it out.
You ever thought about it?
No. I'm not signing up for it.
No, like the scenario.
Oh, the scenario.
Like, what would you do?
Yeah, see, that's also like, no, I haven't, because I'm not.
Do you watch any like Fallout or Last of Us or anything?
I don't like I'm not into like I don't even know, like out there things.
Like prepping.
Yeah, different. Like even we were talking about Adam earlier. He's very into like space, the stars, how small we are.
Yeah.
Like deeper things. And like when we start talking about, like he'll start talking about space and like just the different, I'm just like, nah, that's too much for me. Like that, you're gonna get me freaked out. You'll spin me into a circle. I'm out. I'm talking about stuff like that. I'm pretty just like where I'm at. You know, like I'm doing good. Yeah, I don't like thinking too deep, like in that way. You know.
Man, we were just in Dubai. Did you see the floods?
Yeah, I saw them on your Instagram.
Yeah, so bro, that was like, that made me think.
Your car was underwater.
Yeah. Yeah, like, so I had Anna she booked all the rents. She books all that stuff.
Yeah.
And we get to the Dubai and she's like, I love it. She's like saving every dollar she can.
That's me.
I would have just not even checked. I'm just like, what? Just as long as you book it, I don't care. We get to the thing and it's like the tiniest, it was called a Ford Fuego. I don't even know what that is. And I'm like, fuck, it looks pretty small, eh? And I think she was just traumatized from like the big van we've been driving the whole time we've been here.
Yeah.
So then we're in this car and I'm thinking like, well, we don't really need a car bigger than this. Like, surely we're just in Dubai for a few weeks. Like, we'll be fine. Little city car.
Coming from America where everything's oversized.
Yeah, yeah. And so we get in this thing and I just remember thinking, I'm like, oh, it just makes me feel more comfortable being in a bigger car. And but I'm like, that's silly. You have no reason to worry. 3 weeks later, bro, like they were they were saying too, like we actually went out into the desert with some friends to like take some photos. There's these like cool you're just driving like 35 miles into the desert, right?
Yeah. And
then there's just like the dopest cafe you've ever seen. And there's like 2 of them right there. And then there's just like locals that are just so pumped to see you. They're just like,
yeah.
And but yeah, so we're like, let's go out one of these cafes. The clouds were just crazy. Like this storm was coming in for like a couple days. So everyone knew that it was going to rain.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to do I just had some errands and I had to be in a certain place at a certain time on this particular day. And I was like, dude, this is going to be a bit of a dig. And bro, I started driving, and it was straight up apocalypse now shit. Like the end of days, it's over.
And it's desert there. They don't get a whole lot of rain.
No,
Right.
and so they don't build
It's not prepped
anything
for that.
with like they're not here in the US, bro. You got storm drains that you can get in. You know,
Yep. And even the earth is like ready for the water.
Yeah.
Even in California, when we get way too much water, everything floods out.
Yeah.
Not back in Iowa.
no, exactly.
The
'cause it
dirt in
just-
Iowa's used to getting that rain.
Yeah. Well, this was biblical, bro. It was so crazy, and it pierced down, right? And
You're
I'm
like,
driving.
I wish I had the new bigger car.
And I'm driving this little Fuego around there, and I'm like sending all my mates messages. I'm like, well, boys, that's it. I'm lucky I fucking got the insurance on this rental car because this thing is done. And anyway, I had to get to the bank, and it was raining so hard, bro. The cars were just float. There was some roads where cars were just floating down the road, like G-Wagons and shit, just floating. Rolls Royces completely underwater.
Yeah, because remember, we're in Dubai.
We're in Dubai.
Yeah, like so your Toyota Tacoma is a Rolls Royce truck.
It
Rolls
actually
Royce calling it.
is insane.
Yeah.
Like they are everywhere. They love G-Wagons. A G-Wagon there is like a F-150.
Yeah.
Here. It's insane. But anyway, so I'm driving and I'm going, you know what? I just need to get there. Like I can't, there's no road rules. There's no nothing. I was like reversing down roads. You'd get to like an on-ramp, off-ramp, completely underwater, like deeper than the car would have been. And I'm like, right, backing the car up, driving against traffic.
Get to higher ground.
Going over, yeah, literally. And there was like a bridge, like a kind of like a merge on the freeway kind of thing. I almost just parked my car up there and walked. There was like 3Ks left to get to the bank. So I was like, I could just go, I'll walk the 3Ks.
Yeah.
And, but then people were dying because of the underground electricity. So they have underground electricity. So people were like literally getting electrocuted
Getting in the
where
water
I
again.
was because they were walking through the water. Like, absolutely crazy shit. So we had 2 days of this. So I had to get from my place into Sharjah, which is like the next town over from Dubai. Then I had to get back. And then the next day we were flying back to the US. And I was like, we're not missing this flight. Like I need to get back. So then we were probably like 12 miles from the airport, 3.5 hours to go 12 miles. And we were just zooming in on maps, like just trying to figure, and it's
What road will go where.
straight apocalypse shit, man. So that made me think. I was like, holy fuck,
Yeah.
like it actually can get this real so quickly
You
to
don't
the
know
point
until
where,
you know.
and it stayed there. It stayed like that for ages. And I was so thankful that we were not in LA
Yeah.
because we would have got shot. Like it would have been hectic in Southern California with like that amount of people. Like if the conditions were the same, it probably would be very hard for the conditions in LA to get that
we're
bad.
A little
bit more prepared.
Mm-hmm.
And like I've never seen that much rain in California. But I was like, dude, this would be bad if it happened there with all those people. But that made me think about some apocalypse shit. Like, could I survive? And I just saw all these people, their cars flooded, their shit floating down the road. And I was like, I'm good. Like we made, even in a little Fuego, like we made this happen.
Yeah, I would try, man. I'll give it my all.
You figure it out.
Yeah, figure it out as much as until I can't.
Yeah, but you can like, old boy, you can build a fire, you can hunt, you could kill some shit if you had to.
I know how to build a fire.
Yeah.
I've never actually built a fire with no like, I've never got like struck a rock together.
What about like a flint? You ever just use a flint?
I actually have.
Yeah.
It was like a metal one that you could like squeeze together.
Yeah, you squeeze it together.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've done that when I was younger because that was fun.
Yeah.
But I cut trees down with a saw.
Yeah.
I used to do that.
Yeah.
I was really into hunting.
Yeah.
I love fishing.
What did you used to hunt?
I used to hunt deer, turkeys, pheasants, ducks.
Do you have dogs?
I grew up with dogs, but I never dog hunted. Like I've never, I always wanted to. My mom has still a Weimaraner, which is a pointer dog.
Yeah.
They're meant for pheasant hunting,
Yeah.
but we never actually taught her any, we didn't teach her to point or anything. We didn't take her hunting, but a lot of deer hunting.
What would you shoot, guns or bows?
Bow and gun.
Oh,
Yep.
so you did bows as well.
Yep.
That's got to be a crazy feeling. I've never shot an animal with a bow.
Really? Yeah, it's pretty way more real.
Yeah.
For sure. I've shot 3 deer with a bow. Like that was what I did most of my deer hunting in, because where I lived in Iowa, you can't rifle hunt. There's no rifle season, just shotgun.
Really?
Yep. So there's a shotgun season and a muzzle loader season, and then a bow season. And then we were zoned in city limits, so you could only bow hunt.
Yeah.
So I only bow hunted deer at home.
Like on property?
Yep, on our property. We had 12 acres. And then like pheasant and ducks with shotgun. And then just like when I was a kid, I would get off school and take my pellet gun out, and if it moves, it dies. It's actually funny.
You move, you lose, baby.
My wife and I were talking about it the other day, because I'm like, man, I've gotten soft. I was on a bike ride the other day.
And, you didn't even want to kill a cockroach before.
Yeah, and there was a mother duck with all of its ducklings in the middle of the road, and they crossed. I'm like, oh, they're getting smoked by a car. And then she jumped up on the curb, or up on the sidewalk, and then ducklings couldn't get up the curb. I stopped, turned around on my road bike, picked every duck up onto the curb, because I'm like, I cannot let these things get crushed. And I'm like, man, I've softened up, because I'm a kid. I'm trying to kill them all. You know what I mean? It was just fun to go hunting and like. But yeah, back to what we were talking about. Like, I think I'm pretty well versed. I'm very well versed. I feel as
well. A bow is good for an apocalypse.
When it comes, yeah, exactly.
Like a bow, you definitely want a bow.
Like when we talk bows, like I shot a compound bow. It's got sights. It's all like tricked out.
That's all good.
They're all sweet. I've never been able to like take a recurve.
Yeah,
I have a recurve.
Yeah,
but,
okay.
I couldn't hit crap with it. They're hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I did. That was it's something that I like look back on my childhood and I appreciate so much. Is that I got to experience so much.
You got to do some real shit.
So much.
Yeah.
We my parents had rental properties growing up, and my mom had rental properties, and that's still what she does to this day. So yeah, I worked on rental properties, trashed out, after a tenant has left, and worked on yards, mowed the grass. Like I'm pretty well versed from my childhood, and some of my funnest or best memories as a child were just doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, and you don't know you're making memories for your kids, I think, until later on. Like I talked to my mom about this. I'm like, man, like some of the stuff that I remember, and like when I say that we come from humble beginnings, my parents worked hard. They both had, jobs, and he spent a lot of money on racing dirt bikes, and that was like what we loved to do. But at the same time, we didn't have a lot of spare money. And I tell my mom, I'm like, I remember Tuesday nights we would go to Taco John. Like one day a week we'd go to Taco John's, and it's like Taco Bell, if anyone doesn't know in the Midwest, Taco John's. But like weekly we would go to Taco John's. I remember all you could get was hard shell tacos. That's all you'd let us get. And looking back, it was Taco Tuesday, and hard shell tacos were 87 cents.
Yeah.
But when you're a kid, I didn't know why we were going to Taco Bell or Taco John's. I was just stoked to go to Taco John's.
Yeah.
Navarrette's was the Mexican restaurant down the road from our house, and we would go there one day a week. But when you go there, you ordered the Burrito Supreme. That's just what I knew as a kid.
Yeah.
Well, it was because on Wednesday the Burrito Supreme was $6.99.
Yeah.
And we went and got the Burrito Supreme for a special. But as a kid, you don't judge. You knew as a kid that we were there to, mom was getting us Mexican, and we were stoked to go eat chips and salsa and have Mexican. So like, it's fun. And my mom at the time didn't know that she was creating a memory for me, or something that I remember to this day going with my mom and my sister. My dad traveled for work, and so things like that. It's like it's interesting. As a child, like what you remember and what your best memories are, and some of that stuff is like just doing life.
Yeah, and I think you're so right. And I think that's why if you ride as a kid, because like all my like we didn't ride that much, because like we had one bike that me and my brother shared that wasn't running most of the time, and it was like we wanted to race motocross. It was a TTR 125, but like all my favorite memories are riding or going to even though we didn't do it as much as like your memory would say that you did it. Totally. It's like it's 85% of your memories, but you spend probably 2% of your time doing it, And I think it's kind of the same for a lot of people almost. It was either that or it was camping and fishing. And it's like I'm 35 and what do? I go camping, I go fishing, and I ride motorbikes, you know? So it's like, you're right. Like my parents created such strong memories, or like the things that you remember, you just like fully take forever.
Yeah, totally. And I think that like that's kind of what I think has kept me really loving racing
Yeah.
to this day, is because like all of my memories of racing up until I was 18, it was just strictly what I wanted to do for fun.
Yeah.
I loved every bit of it, you know. And I think it's a little different for most people who race dirt bikes, you know, for a living, for sure, is that like they felt the pressure that I feel as a professional, but
They've been dealing
at
with
a
forever.
far younger age,
Yeah.
you know, and you're most, when you're a kid, you're like soft Play-Doh, you know, you're so formable into like what this is to you.
Yeah.
And dirt bikes still is fun to me.
Yeah.
And as much of a, now it's taken so serious for me, and it's a different kind of fun for me now, but I still do resort it back to that fun feeling. And then when I quit racing dirt bikes for a living at the end of my career, I guarantee you I will have a dirt bike.
Yeah.
And I'll
You'll
ride
still be at
bike.
Glen
Yeah,
Helen
exactly.
screaming
I'll
at
be
me.
out there, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's what I love to do.
Yeah.
And I'm really grateful of my upbringing to teach me to love to do it, and also to teach me like the opportunity that it is to even have a dirt bike to ride.
Yeah.
Like it really is an opportunity, and it's I hope that anyone that gets to do it can try it, because it's awesome. Like that's how I feel.
And there's so many there's so many peers of yours, like guys that are your age, that fucking probably have half the fun and have shitty parents, like dealing with, you know, like there's guys out there right now dealing with a dad that's making his career fucked.
Totally.
You know,
Yeah.
and just a nightmare. And, you know, it's like you're proof that it doesn't have to be that way.
It doesn't have to. Yeah, and it's very different, you know. I know my path to where I'm at, which like we could get into that. It's so far different and so unique to what the
Average,
majority of, you know, my competitors are. But again, like even the way I was raised and kind of the values I was raised on was, you know, like once I turn 18, that's when, you know, we'll financially help you until you're 18. And then if it doesn't work by then, you go get a different job or whatever that is. And then that was the case. That was how it worked. And once I turned 18 again, or once I started racing professionally, started doing contracts and started working with companies, neither my mom or my dad have ever seen one of my contracts. Neither of them have ever laid eyes.
Do you have an agent?
Nick Way actually does just in the last 2 years.
Sick.
He helps me, you know, with my negotiations with my team and talking to my team. But I still keep a, you know what I mean? It's when I'm discussing with Mitch and Kawasaki and those guys, it's me, Nick, and them talking. You know, it's not talk to my agent at all. That's not that way. He just helps me with. I really respect the way he's gone about his career.
Well,
he's such a great businessman. I think he's just really, he's respected in the industry, and I like to have him be able to, you know, help speak for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, up until the last couple of years, I've done everything completely on my own, and it's like I'd said, my parents, it's like we don't go to your job with you, you know, we don't go to, you know, a job interview with you. And my dad, my mom, no one's ever spoke with Mitch or anyone or even looked at any of my contracts or had any part of it.
Pretty
And
fucking cool.
That's far different, you know. They know what I make, how much money I make, but they would never be like, oh yeah, you need to get more, or they just don't really care to know or care to. They're like, that's not my responsibility anymore.
Yeah.
I raised you into an adult. Now you make the adult decisions, and this is what you're going to do for a living, you know? And it makes me, I really like that I have that relationship with my parents.
Bro, there's so many kids.
Because there's no attachment to what I'm doing. And what, I don't have any feeling of like look what I did for you. you owe me this, or anything. Yeah, like if I never rode a dirt bike again, it's, you know,
They're like, cool,
I'm
we'll
just your
see you
dad.
more.
I'm just your dad, you know, like, and there's never a, you owe me this, or, you know, they're really happy that I was able to get to where I'm at, and they're just proud of me.
Yeah.
It's cool.
There's so many dudes on the start line in 250 and 450 that wish they had that in their life.
Totally.
Man, you just hear some horror stories. Eh?
Yep.
Like even guys right now that people might not expect that are just going through it with like their dad or their mum or whatever. And it's just, fuck, it sucks.
It's unfortunate. Yep. It is tough for sure. And like, I think that would be the toughest thing on me, is because I value my family so much. And the relationship that I have with my family, I couldn't imagine my job affecting my relationship with my family, because that is the most important thing in life to me. Nothing else matters to the level of my family and my wife.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. And those guys would, like, if they're dealing with it in their pro career, imagine what it was like as their amateur career.
Exactly.
Like, at least
Even
in the
worse.
pros, there's like some guardrails.
Yeah.
Of like, there's big team managers and big company. And if they're still acting a fool
Totally.
in that time when there's all those people around, imagine what happened when it was just you and your dad in a fucking motorhome.
Yep.
It would have been like basically child abuse.
Totally.
Gets,
Yeah,
gets gnarly.
it does. It can. And yeah, I'm stoked that that's not something I deal with.
Did you ever feel like to pressure to get an agent or anything like that? Because I mean, it's definitely cool to be even doing that on your own.
No, not really. Sometimes when you don't have someone helping you with it, you're like, am I missing out on something? Is there something that, you know, I could do better? But I really like to speak for myself. And I like to, not only in that form, but I want to talk to my boss. I want to talk to the people who are hiring me, and not just in the negotiating of hiring time, but like whether there's something that I want to address with my motorcycle or with the team or anything. Like, I like to address it. Like, I like to talk to people man to man, and I like to be able to build a relationship. Like, I've been able to build a great relationship with Mitch. And
He probably respects that, eh? Like
I think
the agent, the lack of agent.
yeah, I think he does. And like I said, like I do have Nick help me with that. He is my agent. You know, he does help me with that end. But yeah, like I mean, when I first started working with Mitch, the way it was is I was at Geico as a fill-in guy, and I would leave the Geico shop, which was down the street from Pro Circuit, and I would stop by the Pro Circuit and walk up to the front desk and ask the lady if I could speak with Mitch. She'd go in the back, and he'd be busy, you know. And then finally, he talked to me the one time.
How many times did it take?
I went in there 3 times before I talked to him.
That's so sick.
And then the first time I talked to him, I walked up to his porting bench, and he kept porting a cylinder, and just didn't. And then he just kind of stopped and looked, and he said, "What's up?" And I was, I think Martine had gotten hurt. Austin was hurt. Going into outdoors, I didn't have an outdoor deal, so I was just looking for a fill-in deal for the summer that I could maybe turn into something. And he was like, basically like, what? And you know, he's just messing with me because he knows I'm nervous as heck. And I was like, I'm just, you know, here to see if, you know, there's a potential that you might need another rider for the summer. And then he'll sit there, and he sat there and kind of didn't say anything and just let you sit there. And I'm like, man, what do I do right now? You know, do I walk out? Like, what? But my thing was I'm like, I guess if I make him mad, like, he'll just kick me out of his shop. Like, so I guess that's worst case. And and then he was like, oh, then we chatted, and he was like, yeah, you know, I don't need anyone right now. And then I'm like, okay. And so then a couple weeks later, I'd go back down there. And then I actually ended up having a fill-in deal with TLD that summer.
Yeah.
But I didn't have anything for 2020. So I kept kind of going down there and being like, you know, what's going on? I knew that there was potentially a spot on Pro Circuit, and I just wanted to keep, keep going in and keep my name relevant, keep my name heard, and let him see that I really respected his team. I really looked up to his team, and I would like the opportunity to potentially ride for your team. And I think I only talked to him a couple times after that, but it was very same type of thing, like very short. But I knew that, not maybe, yeah, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And I kind of had that intentions of like, if he really doesn't want me to come down here anymore,
He'll
and
tell
stop
you not to do it.
He'll just say, don't come back.
Yeah.
And then that's worst case scenario. And then I walk out and all's great. I wouldn't want that to happen, but if worst case scenario is going to hold you back, I thought about worst case scenario. That's worst case. So I might as well keep coming in. And then actually towards the end of the outdoor season that summer in 2019, he called me and he asked if I had signed a deal for 2020, and I had just had an offer. I had just gotten an offer from TLD, and I had said no, and he said, all right, come down tomorrow. And I went down there the next day, and he gave me an offer and was like, I'd like for you to ride for our team. It was pretty surreal, I was like, holy crap. Yeah. So that was how my first deal, and in his office right there, I was, I actually told him that I was like, I want to go out and I want to call TK, who was at TLD, and let him know before I commit to anything. And he was like, why? Because he's like that, and he does kind of gives.
Well, he's a
and
businessman too, right?
He's a great businessman.
If you're in sales, right?
But I was just like, man, I have to, like, out of the respect for what these guys have done for me this summer, I have to go out and call him. And it was the hardest. I was like, dude, if I walk out of here, like, what, does this go away? But I was like, I need to call him. Like, that's what I need to do. I have to do that. And he's like, all right. And he's like, whatever. And, so I walked out in the parking lot and talked to those guys. And I don't know the proper way of going about these types of things. I'm just trying to learn as I go, I'm a young adult at the time and still am. And I'm just like, man, I think I want to do everything of what I feel like is the proper way to do this. And yeah, I went back in and signed the deal with Mitch, and that was where our partnership and relationship started as, business relationship. And from then we've created a great friendship. I consider Mitch a friend of mine. Like I look up to him, his family. He's got 2 boys, his wife, Kristen. I spent a lot of time with them at their house, gone to football games with them, and gone to the boys' little league games. And what I like that I can do is that we're able to be friends and business partners. We could go on a Saturday night and he could be very unpleased with my performance, and he will let me know very clearly, and could have had plans to go watch the Super Bowl on Sunday at his house. And I'm not going to be like, oh man, Mitch was not nice to me on Saturday. I'm not going to, no.
Yeah, I guess football's off.
Show up at the Super Bowl. Guess what? Mitch is like, what's up, guys? Because like he's able to, this is this
He's
and
a
this
pro.
is this. Yes. And so I respect that from him. And I appreciate that he has such a high expectation, and he believes so highly in me.
Yeah.
And I want to be, I want to feel that accountability that I carry for myself.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I really enjoy working with him.
Did you know him and Troy were really good friends?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so
no, I at the time I didn't know.
Yeah,
that.
he would have known the whole time. He would have spoke to Troy and be like, "What's Cameron like?"
Yeah, exactly.
He would have known
exactly. Yeah, and I think looking back on it, I think maybe he liked it. Like he appreciated that I came down there often and was like, "Hey, man, what I got to do?"
Yeah,
and
he would have appreciated that you wanted to make that phone call.
Yeah,
too,
and I actually asked him when he gave me the offer. I was like, "What would I have to do to make this a 2-year deal?" And he was like, "Perform." And I'm like,
pretty easy,
Mitch.
bro.
Yeah, he said, "Perform, do your job." And I was like, "Oh yeah, That's pretty cut and dry, but yeah, you're right. Okay, fair enough. Like, you know what I mean? Because like I'm just trying to like do all the things that I've heard of how you do it. Like I'm very green in my career, and at the time I had just always grabbed onto maybe I could get another opportunity. Maybe I could have like I kind of filled in everywhere a little.
Well,
bit
I remember you
in a
racing
sense.
in Australia, and you were like you're racing
2018
everywhere.
when because I lost my Geico deal. I went to Australia. I went to
What team did you rode for Honda there? Didn't you?
Yeah, Urive.
Yeah.
Rode for Urive there.
Yeah,
which was cool.
Did Brayton get you that deal?
Yep, Brayton got me that deal. He introduced me to Eric Bernard.
Yeah,
that off season because I was like, kind of like, what do I do?
Yeah. So you were saying Eric Bernard?
Yeah. So, 2018 off season going into 2019, I didn't really have any deal. And I was like, man, what do I do? So I actually bought the 450 that I had at Club from Geico. I just bought it from them.
It was just like a practice bike.
Yeah, it was like a practice 450, just a stock form. And then I sent the suspension over to Ziggy to have it revalved on a Supercross. Started riding Supercross, and I obviously Justin Brayton was like my main mentor at the time, and he was like, man, you need to keep trying to race, like keep racing, and he did all of those.
Because you were super fast. You were always really fast.
Yeah, I had a lot of intensity, and sometimes it didn't really relate to too much speed, but I could kind of always be there situationally. And yeah, I had like, I guess if you go all the way back to the beginning of my professional career, I was on MCR.
Yeah.
And I had some ninth place results, but like on a pretty stacked field, and I battled with Hampshire one time really good, which I remember that Toronto. It's crazy the memory we had. Toronto 2017, and I was just battling with Hampshire, and I'm like, this is huge for me right now, massive. And it was for ninth. I think he had like maybe a hurt ankle or something, but I didn't know about that at the time, nor did I care.
Yeah, who cares?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like whatever. But and then Geico came to us, or they actually came to the Moto Concepts team, to Mike Genova and Tony Lessie, and said, hey, we're looking for a fill-in rider. We're interested in Cameron. Would there be any way, that we could basically take him? And Mike Genova, he was my agent for that deal, and he said, the only way I'm going to let Cameron go is if you guys give him a fair shot and you give him the rest of Supercross, all of outdoors, and you give him a paid and pay him, and then you give him a full year 2018 full spot on your team. And I had no clue about any of it. Didn't know that they were interested in me, none of it. And because my deal was a Supercross only deal, because the Moto Concepts team only races Supercross.
Yeah.
So,
dude, that's cool.
Yeah. And he actually created that 250 program for me because
it was only 450 at the time, right?
Yeah, in 2016. And Michael Lessie was training at Club back in 2016 and was telling his dad, hey, there's this kid here who has nothing. He just got bikes, stock bikes, whatever. But man, he tries really hard. He's really fast. We should try and help him. And then Tony talked to Genova, and they left their semi at Daytona for the couple days after the pro race, for the amateur race for me. And they got me plastics for my bikes, graphics that were MCR, and new tires. And they had one of their mechanics, Aaron Rozek, work on my bike. So my mom and I drove from South Carolina down to Daytona in my van, and then we were under the semi for the weekend. And Genova actually came to the race because he was still there from the Supercross the night before, and he was like, "Wow, this amateur racing is like serious." He had never cared to even look at it, and he was like, "This stuff is like pretty legit. Like, we want to help you through the end of this year. Like, we want to take you to the amateur races, help you at the amateur races." And so I did a deal with them as an amateur, and I did Freestone, Mammoth, and I had never done Mammoth, Loretta's, and then Monster Cup. And so we had gotten to know each other really well, and then I rode their bikes. Actually, they got me bikes, and so I was on like a really good supported thing for my last into my amateur.
Yeah.
And then at Monster Cup, they offered me a 250 East Coast Supercross deal, and they created a 250 program again for me because Genova and I got to know each other really well. Tony and I got to know and they were like, man, we want the best for this kid, and we want to give him a shot. So that was my shot. And yeah, 3 races in, like after he put that whole, program together, Kyle Chisholm was the West Coast rider that they had. And yeah, I had raced 3 races for them, I believe. And then Geico came to them and were like, hey, we're interested in another rider. We need Cameron. And yeah, he let me go. At Daytona, actually, he came over to me and was like, hey, I got good news and bad news for you. The bad news is that you're not going to be with us anymore. The good news is that Geico Honda wants you. This is what I've, put together that they would do for you. And I was like, that can't be real, And the way that he did that and yeah, that was what he did for my career is huge. And for him to just want what was best for me was really cool. So to carry that on, I didn't race a whole lot in 2017 because I hurt my shoulder and I didn't really race any outdoors. 2018, first lap of the first main event in Supercross, I got landed on. No, I was in the turn after like a triple on off into the turn, and a guy went off and clipped it, and he launched into the side of me, and it broke my hand, but not too bad. So I was able to finish that race, and then I raced Tampa, and I believe it was in Georgia. It was in Atlanta, and I had a crash, and it completely broke the rest of that bone. It was a metacarpal in my hand. So that put me out until outdoors, and then I raced outdoors in 2018 and just straight up didn't have the performance to carry on a factory route. I was like maybe 10th to 12th-ish. So yeah, and the Lawrence brothers were coming over, and so they had those guys signed up. They had a full roster, and they had let me know early on, hey, we're not going to have a spot for you. Start looking. And I didn't have results to back up a spot to race, and so I bought the bike from them, my 450, and I kept riding, kept training on Supercross. And then Justin was like, man, you should race some of these off. Like if I could, get you some, a connection with Eric Bernard and go race the 250, whatever, just keep racing, show face. I actually raced straight rhythm for Mathis on a 252 stroke.
Yes.
Yep. To start. And then Bradley Taft was the 250 rider for the Australian team.
Yeah.
And I got a call from Justin. Was like, hey, he was in Australia because he was, riding for the team. He was like, hey, would you be interested in coming down and racing the AUS-X Open? I think you should. But he was basically like, you need to do this.
Yeah.
Not really like,
do
you want to?
I'm asking you, but
yeah,
I'm
telling you. Yeah, because he knew he was pretty much the guy who I looked up to, what his idea of what I should do was. So I was like, yep, let's do it. So I flew to Melbourne, rode the bike for a few days, had the time of my life in Australia, flew over to Sydney, raced the AUS-X Open and won.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like so cool. I hadn't won in so long. And it was just so cool. Yariv was, if anyone's seen Yariv or knows Yariv, he's
into it.
He's so into it. He shows his emotion. He loves it, just as we all do. And so I won that. That was super cool. Such a fun week. And then I got back, and then Justin was like, hey, I talked to Eric Bernard, and they'll give you, I don't remember exactly how much it was, but basically paid for my travel and a couple extra bucks to go race in Geneva.
Yeah.
No, the first one would have been Bercy. Yeah, the first one was Bercy, which it wasn't still Bercy, but like Paris Supercross.
Paris Supercross.
And so I went there and raced on I forget what the team was called. It was a Honda team. I wore Kenny gear. Went and raced that, and I got second there. And then got to know Eric there.
He's such a good dude.
Yeah, so cool. So cool. And traveled with Brayton and his family over there and back and got to go to Paris. And I was like, man, that was cool. And then they invited me to come to Geneva. And they had a guy from Switzerland that had a stock Yamaha bike that he was just like, yeah, I would love to have Cameron Mackey race it. And I was riding a Yamaha at the time because I was riding a Club MX bike.
Yeah.
And I was potentially going to ride on that team. So I shipped my suspension with me and went over there and raced Geneva and won Geneva. And then came back. And then I got a call in December, right around Christmas time, from my shack. And was like, hey, Sexton broke his collarbone on a mountain bike today. Would you be interested in West Coast Supercross? And I was like, sign me up. I'm on my way. So that was where my Geico 2019 deal came in, and I did the whole Supercross. And that was like kind of my I think I got fifth in points, which was like so much better than anything I'd ever done. And I podiumed in Vegas. And then after the third round of outdoors, I got a fill-in ride with TLD, and then did that summer. And then, so that goes into me starting to work with Mitch. Yeah. That was at the end of the summer when I got hired in 2020 for Pro Circuit, and been here since.
And what did you learn through that process? Like what got you to where you are?
The biggest lesson I learned is to keep on trying. Keep on giving everything you've got. Because like that's the only thing that you have complete control over is your amount of effort and what you're willing to put into it. And I realized that because there was so many times when it would have been so easy to be like, there's no way. Like at the end of 2018, when I straight up raced the whole outdoors and like I just could get 12.
Yeah, you just weren't good enough.
Yeah, and I was just like, man, I had it. I had the factory, everything. But if I told myself that and I was like, this is all I got, this is it for me, that was the it. That was done. I was done racing dirt bikes. But I was like, there's something there that I wasn't ready to rest on that. And I just kept trying. And if you lose this opportunity, like life doesn't feel bad for you. I know that. I figured that out. And make the best of whatever this next opportunity can be. And that's what I tried to do. Like in 2018, I was like, and especially after riding for 2 years on Geico Honda, a full factory team, it was so surprisingly hard, even especially from like a guy like myself, to drop your ego and be like, when Steve Mathis called and was like, hey, I want you want to come ride a 2-stroke for straight rhythm? I'm like, but I'm like, wait, no, I'm not Geico Honda factory Cameron Mackey anymore. Yeah. I don't have that. I'm not that anymore.
Yeah.
So do you want to race dirt bikes? Do you want to fly out to California and like go do this? Or going to a very satellite thing over in Geneva and riding a far, far less superior bike than what you're used to. But like you lost that opportunity. So take this next opportunity that you have and do everything you can with that. And then all of a sudden, a couple months later, it turned into, holy crap, I'm back. I have a full Supercross deal with Geico again. Here we are. Like, and that was, I mean, I talked with Justin a lot in those times. I'm like, man, what do I do? Like, what do I do? You know, he's like, keep going. Like, and he would help me. You know, he was bringing opportunities to the table for me. As long as I was going to keep trying, he was going to help me. And he believed in me. That was like, he was a big part of, I knew that like him believing me, I'm like, why would he believe in me? If he should believe in me, I should definitely still believe in me. Yeah. Because he's legit.
Sometimes that's a very hard thing to do though, right?
So hard.
Is like actually see your own self-worth in a sense.
Yeah.
And it's like, that is a good point. Like, I even think that sometimes with the podcast.
People that you look up to, like,
or just people watching them. Like, why the fuck do they even watch it? And then you're like, well, it must be okay.
Totally.
But like, there's a level of like unwarranted self-doubt because, like you said, you got to do like Justin Brayton. It's just
Totally.
like keep bringing, and you're doubting
Keep
yourself,
bringing your best.
and you're not believing in yourself.
Yep.
But then it's like, wait a minute, this guy does.
'Cause
Like, why?
Even in like 2015 or 2014, when I moved there, and my parents were like, "Hey, we're gonna give you 1 year to try this." Like, it was such a far shot for us. We went from like, it was like I went to high school, and
What do you reckon you would have done?
I don't know. I have a couple college credits in engineering.
Okay.
No one knows that about me.
Yeah, right.
And I got that as a junior in high school.
So you're into that?
I hated it.
Really?
Yeah. So I wouldn't do that. But I was, I showed my cards a little bit too much on like I was pretty smart.
Yeah.
It sucked. Sucked because then I was stuck in this engineering
got put
class
into
and
classes.
it was so hard.
yeah.
I really don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think the easy thing to say would be to go work construction maybe because my dad's a high-end construction superintendent, but I really don't know. I think something that I could build and not just revolve doing this same thing. Like, what can I be? Like, can I start as this and become this and become again, construction is one of those things. Like, maybe I own a construction business one day.
Yeah.
But I don't really know. I don't like to.
There's also.
I'm like, man, this is what I did, so this is what we got.
Yeah,
But,
and there's something to not having a plan B.
yeah, exactly.
I think not having a plan B
We'll
really
figure it out when it comes.
really makes plan A
Yep.
happen
That's
a
what you
whole
gotta
lot
do.
more,
Yeah, and like I guess if there wasn't a certain amount of belief in myself in 2015 when I had far less superior motorcycles, just what my parents could exactly provide me doing their very best. And I would go to the line and I was versus, what Kawasaki was providing people to do their very best. If I'd have told myself how much less I had or, which I did at times for sure, but yeah, just take every opportunity that I had and just make the best of it and bring whatever could be next, whatever could be next. And that turned into, 2018 in October and November of 2018, I was riding bikes that I was like pretty nervous on, to be honest. And I rode a bike week to week that I purchased that was completely stock form that had revalve suspension, and that was what I was riding. And then in October and November of 2019, I had a full spot, and I was one of the 4 guys on Pro Circuit Race Team. 12 months. But if I would have decided that wasn't going to be able to happen, then it wouldn't be able to happen. And then the next, the next challenges come and the next goals come. So I believe I can be a champion still. And after this,
I think you've proved
after this season, after 2021, when I've had a red plate and didn't achieve that goal, 2022, I had the red plate, didn't achieve that goal. If after those couple times I was like, man, maybe I don't got it, or now I'm gonna keep trying because I believe I can be a champion, and I think that's one of my biggest assets, that I'll always pick myself back up and keep trying on to the next. I want to be a top level 450 racer. I want to be a 450 champion. I believe I can do that. And so that's why I'm going to keep working towards that goal. There's steps in the process, There's steps to become a lights champion. And I haven't put all those steps together quite yet. And I believe I can still. So that's what gets me out of bed in the morning and makes me really want to do what I get to do.
Yeah. What was because when you started getting on the podium, once that door opened, then you've been on the podium a lot. So shout out Clinton Fowler. We got some stats here.
Oh, I love this.
So you got 50 Supercross starts. So you've tied 40th all time. You've got 822 Supercross points. That's 20th all time. You've got 3 wins. That's
20th all-time lights, correct?
I think so.
Yeah, it must be.
And then, so that's tied for, I can't read my own, right? I think, 71st all time, right? But so this is where it gets gnarly. 22 Supercross podiums, tied 11th all time with AC Hunter and Tim Ferry. And then the next podium that you get takes you from 11th overall to 5th all time, and that's with MC, Jett, Jordan, Barsha, and Osborne.
Wow.
So the next one you get.
That's cool. But, and that means I spent a lot of time in the lights class. You know what I mean? But no, like,
Hey, no one said that.
yeah, no. I mean, that's the thing too. I think that it's easy to start looking down on, oh yeah, I spent a lot of time in the lights class, but like this is where I'm at. This is where I've gotten myself to, and until I'm in the position to be to earn my way onto a high level 450, I'm gonna continue doing my job and making a living racing a dirt bike in the 250 class. I think it's So those are cool stats though. Like I remember when they were telling me, so I have 21 podiums. You said, or 20? 22 podiums. And one of the press conferences this year, they were like, "Yeah, this was your 20th Supercross podium," and I was like, "Whoa, that's crazy." It doesn't feel like that. Like it doesn't feel like I've been on the podium that much.
Yeah,
And
that's a lot of
It's
times.
new to me. I mean, I remember every single one of them. Yep. And once I kind of unlocked that door for myself, and it's a big, I guess, it really goes to like self-belief.
It's belief.
It's crazy what your mind does, and if you tell yourself that you're a podium guy, you go do it and you go figure it out. And yeah, once I've figured that out, or once I've figured out that like I'm a championship contending guy, I've been able to contend for them, and that's why I'm also excited to go into outdoors this year. I've missed outdoors, or large portions of the outdoors, since 2020. Like I raced 2020 outdoors, and I raced that whole season.
You've raced 6 starts
since
in the outdoors
2020.
from 2021 to 2023. No overall or podium.
Nope. I've got 1 top 5 in outdoors.
That's crazy.
So I'm excited to
change that
unlock
stat.
new goals. Yeah, exactly. Like progress into being a top outdoor rider and make my best outdoor season ever. Or, maybe a goal I have in mind is to score enough points to earn a career number.
What would you get?
I got a good one.
You're not saying it?
No, I will. If Justin will give it to me, I want number 10.
That's sick.
That'd be like one of the coolest things for me. So I think I got this year left to do it, because he can hold on to it.
How many points do you got to get?
You have to be, I believe the way it works is you have to be top 15 overall, 250 and 450
Combined
total points.
Yeah. Do you know where you're at now?
I don't. I missed the last couple, so I have like 120 points, I think.
Okay.
But outdoors, you can make a lot of points, so like that's another cool goal for me to have, right? Like,
that would be so sick for you to get his number.
Yeah, like just
he'd give it to you.
Yeah. We've talked about it.
That's so sick.
Yeah. So, but yeah, like I just want to have. I want to race all the races. That's been a big goal for me. That was a big goal for me last year. This year,
it's just
unfortunately I haven't been able to.
It's
but I want
so
to race
important, man.
It is.
Like you look at what Hunter was able to do. Like Hunter had this just terrible injury, like terrible results, injury, and then as soon as he got to the point where he started just stacking up off seasons and stacking up seasons, the curve just goes up, and it's like everything in life, even your sleep. Like if you're just consistent with your sleep, and if you sleep 8 hours a night for 2 years, you don't even need an alarm.
Yep, and that's something I've missed out on the last few years, and I think that's been a big part of what's slowed my progression. And I've improved. I've had better results, and I feel like I'm the best racer I've ever been. But it's taken some more years than I wanted to, and the person who's responsible for that is me. And so, like my injuries, I'm responsible for. I really believe in taking full responsibility for,
you kind of have
for
to.
everything you can.
Yeah.
And the whole, I think, bad luck, or Tomac doesn't accidentally race every race, and Dungey didn't accidentally do what he did and stay injury free. I do believe for sure things happen. It's like, whoa, how'd that happen?
Yeah.
And I felt like that a lot of times in my career. But if you fall victim to that every time, then you're never going to move forward. But
Yeah.
I really want to race all the races. I really want to improve on myself each time. And like I said, I've missed the last two these last two Supercrosses. I won't be in Salt Lake, but I'm excited to start an outdoor season. I'm excited to race SMX. I didn't get to race that last year, so as soon as this goal got cut short and I wasn't able to, on to the next.
Yeah.
Yep. And then I hope to, you know what I mean, put myself in a position next year to be able to fight for a Supercross title again. But also I don't want to get ahead of myself.
Yeah.
Like I said it in Indy actually, but like I really am trying to focus on being where my feet are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's pretty cool advice.
Yeah.
How is married life, by the way?
It's awesome. It's one of the...
Because it was Maddie that gave you that advice, yeah?
Yep, Maddie did. And anyone that really knows me, from when I left home in Iowa when I was 16, I never had a girlfriend. I never had interest in going out and, hanging with girls, doing what a 18-year-old or 19 or 20-year-old professional athlete does, I guess. And I was just so focused in on, I was so sure that girls would be a negativity for me. It would take me away from, I don't have time for it. I never had time for it, And I didn't have time for it until Maddie came around and, I found time and I, she was like, I felt like she was the right person for me. And it was cool because.
How'd you meet in the first place?
So
if you were actively trying not to meet girls.
Yeah, exactly. So she was like best friends with Paige Craig.
Yeah.
Yep. And for years, and I knew her, we didn't know each other personally at all. But I was close with the Craigs when I was at Geico, and I would always like give Paige crap. I'd be like, set me up with Maddie,
Yeah.
But just like very jokingly.
Yeah.
And I guess not so jokingly, but finally I told Paige, I think I got her number from Paige, and I reached out to her and chatted with her, and it was actually during COVID. And everything was shut down. We weren't like really able to ride. Like it was pretty much like, if you're gonna go ride, be low key about it because it doesn't look good to be out in public.
Yeah.
And she and her whole family, they had a house down in Destin, Florida.
Yeah.
In Rosemary Beach, and I flew down there over Easter for a weekend. Never really met her. Her whole family brought it into the squad and said, "What's up?" And like so that was where it started. But it's one of the most rewarding things for me is to try and be the best partner I can be. I've never been someone's partner my whole life, and I'm glad that I didn't. Because I guess for the majority, when you're in high school, you're just like, it's dating for fun and what it is and whatnot. I'm glad I've waited till I felt like I picked the exact person for me, and she's a great asset to me as a person.
Yeah.
As a man, I've learned. I'm learning for sure how to understand how someone else works, how to understand
how a woman works,
what their how a woman works, and how what their struggles are, what they need from, what she needs from me that I can provide for her to help her, and vice versa. She works really hard to be the best wife to me, the best supporter of my career, my job. It takes a massive role to be a Supercross Racers partner. That's for sure. And it's a huge responsibility. She does very good at that. Race day for me is like, she almost kind of treats it like a work day too. Like it's not, she's very locked into what she can do to help me.
Yeah.
She's not there for, to be the image of it or whatever. If the team comes in and we're going to watch film, she leaves the truck. Like she stays in her place in race day. She knows her role when it comes to the racing, but just how married life is in general is it's fun. It's enjoyable to have a partner, to get to learn each other and get to just try and help each other. I've always been someone who I get so much enjoyment out of just helping others or people that I care for. When I was a little kid, there was like some flowers that would sprout in the spring halfway down our dirt road. And I remember riding my bicycle down there to cut them off because I'd always want to bring my mom back flowers. Or I remember when my dad would ask me to make him a ham sandwich, I would go up from the garage and I'd want to make him the most bomb ham sandwich he ever had, because I always I love getting to make people happy and people that I really care for or love. I love to make them happy. I want to help give them the best life. And, so yeah, it's really fun and it's definitely different for me. Like I've never, but like I said, I've never dated girls. I was just so focused on racing, and now it didn't feel like I never had. Like it just felt right. Like that was, as soon as I got to know her pretty well, I was like, man, like this is the person for me. Yeah. And I don't know. Yeah. I just feel like she was the one that God put on earth for me. That's what I believe. So yeah.
That's cool, man. And I mean, it's like, obviously it's hard to see from like social media, but like it just comes across that you guys are pretty like in like that,
Yeah, totally.
But I think it's funny, like I think marriage gets a pretty bad rap these days, like for our generation too, and like I probably was in that camp in a sense too before I met my wife, but I think it's like a very underrated thing. And I think maybe I'm thinking about it too in terms of like that accountability, like once you're accountable for a person and you take on the role as like, I'm supporting the family, it's on me, like I'm the provider, like I'm the dude that's, these are my roles, these are my responsibilities. No one's fucking coming to save me. Like there's no one else that's going to be able to take care of my wife but me.
It does put a huge, it did change that perspective of my life too, because prior to Maddie, lived for yourself. I rented a room at Carson Mumford's house for $700 a month, and it was just everything's so simple,
Fucking crazy
and now,
when you think
like as a man, I do feel that role to be able to provide for her and for the family, and it's cool because she also she's not okay with me just providing for her. She wants to build something that she's proud of. She wants to work towards something that she's proud of daily too. And I wouldn't be able to be with someone who didn't have that. That was okay with just living.
Yeah.
And just having the life and just waking up with no purpose. Like she wakes up with a purpose just as I do, and our purposes are so different. But that's something that that's a huge amount of that's something that I respect massively, and I would need that in a partner. I knew I needed that in a partner. I can't have someone who's just okay with whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it is a huge feeling of responsibility. And even when we dated prior to being married, we dated for a while, and it was, nothing really changed we had lived together for 2 years by the time we got married. So like when we got married, it was
you're pretty just like,
but it was like, whoa, that I'm married now. Like now I'm responsible for, this is my partner. We're responsible for each other's actions, responsible for building a good marriage and building each other up. It's something I enjoy. Like I love it. It's cool.
Yeah. No,
it's special.
Yeah, it is cool. And I think it's cool to talk about because
totally.
So, like I wasn't the guy that thought I'd be like so pumped on it. You always think it's gonna be like all the jokes and the like it's not as cool as what I think it like actually is.
And then once you're like, now I'm married, it is my life. You know what I mean? She is my life. She's my partner. She, she has such a big role in even helping me understand things when it's not going great,
Well, I think that's like chicks if you get the right chick anyway, like emotional intelligence. Like dudes are not that emotionally intelligent. Like it is what it is.
Wow, like so,
Like to have a chick perspective is quite useful.
And I think I've had pretty good perspective on like what matters because of how close I've always been with my family.
Yeah.
If any of my fans or anyone that follows my career, they know I'm extremely close with my family and I care so much for them. So I've always had that feeling, but when things don't go my way or things do go my way on the weekend, she doesn't treat me any different. I don't mean anything different to her. And she handles the role of like keeping me up and like, hey, life's good, and like we have great life on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, which is going to help me into the next Saturday going racing. If we're gonna compare it or bring it into my job, that's helpful. Like she plays a huge role in not getting heightened emotions when she sees her husband get really, really hurt. We were talking about Atlanta in 2021. Like, imagine what she had to go through emotionally that whole week when I had that big crash, and then the following I had that massive one on the triple.
Fuck, that was huge, bro.
Regardless of, oh man, he's a crash. That's her person.
Yeah.
And she watches that, and then watches what happens in the one where I hit the bridge, and then stays in the hotel with me for the next 3 days, and then she's gonna go watch me go race again, and not show me any, she can't be scared.
Doubt.
She can't have the option to be scared, and so that's a big role, and it's cool to see the way she's able to handle it. Like it's, I enjoy doing life with her. It's fun.
How'd she handle Detroit?
Oh, actually, that probably better than me. So she didn't even know what happened in Detroit.
Really?
No. And then,
was she there? She would have been there.
Yeah, she was there.
Yeah.
But it's like hallway parking kind of in between the buildings.
Yeah.
And I was like devastated. Not because I could care less really about that. Whatever. Like, every man's got one. We don't know what they look like. Whatever. Clearly, because I got up and kept racing.
Yeah.
But I was bummed because it's the first race.
Yeah.
I'm out of the championship. I'm out of it, right? In your mind, at that point, I got 15th. I was just like, everything I worked for, and I was already with my shoulder, whatever. I'm like, man, honestly, that was like kind of the starting of my decision to be like, hey, what's the next best thing I can do? So I'm like, I'm not gonna go back and just have frown on my face and like just be a massive bummer. So when I was pulling up to the truck with my mechanic, I stood up. Because she was standing outside the truck. I just stood up, and she just died laughing. Like, what happened?
No way.
Oh my gosh, she still to this day is the funniest thing to her, and she just thought it was. She clowned it. She laughed about it. We died laughing at the pictures that our photographer friend started sending us when we got back to the hotel that night. And after probably 3 or 4 days, I was like, okay, I've had enough of it with what I've seen on not what I've seen on social, but like I could only post so many pictures in the same
comments. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mcadoo. And it's just like, okay, like you guys you're a grown man, like you guys are wearing this out. It's funny. And I went on and made fun of myself Saturday morning or Sunday morning.
You did the right thing. You did the right thing.
So I'm like, okay, we're really wearing this out, like on to the next, and it just never was on to the next. And I'm just like, I've had enough of it. And she's like, this is funny and this is awesome. And so like she's just good at like handling that type of stuff. And she's that was that was funny. Yeah.
It was a pretty gnarly moment in the sport. Like, I mean, we spoke about it after the press conference. I wish I actually pressed you a bit in the press conference about it. They don't give us enough questions.
Totally.
Like, we need to be able to just talk a bit, but anyway, different topic. But yeah, you said because like TMZ hit you up. Like who hit you up through that?
TMZ reached out and they had already made an article on it.
Yeah.
And so they wanted me to speak on it. And I pretty much told them that the only way I wanted to speak on it was because it was at the time where I'm like, I've had enough of it being like a joke.
Yeah.
And I was like, I kind of was like, I'll talk about it, but let's make this article into something to where it's like, look what Supercross racers are willing to do. Like they're so tough and they'll do whatever they can, and what this means to them, and like help us grow our sport. If we're gonna go on, and then it never turned into much of anything. I had some companies reach out to me like to do partnerships, Manscaped and Barstool posted about it.
Yeah.
It got kind of big, and I didn't really want to advertise it because it's not my brand. It's not really. I didn't want.
But I think the way that you spun it, like until
Yeah.
you said that to me, I was like, fuck, this actually was like a golden opportunity.
Totally.
But it would have been at like your
Yeah.
expense in a certain way. But
Yeah,
like,
but I just don't want. My thing is, I didn't want to lean into it so far to where like mom and dad with a 7 and 9-year-old kid don't want to bring their kid to my truck to be a, you know what I mean? Because it's like that's that guy.
That's that pervert.
Yeah, that branded themselves on it. Which,
Yeah.
but I actually, I did an Ethica collab, which is going to be coming out. Probably, I think we're going to drop it next week.
Yeah.
On my website. So I made some underwear with. It's going to be all. It has just mixed nuts. The whole thing is like a container of mixed nuts.
Yeah.
Super vague. It's fun. You know what I mean? Something cool, and it lines up with their branding and the way they kind of make some of their underwear and stuff like that. So that and you gotta make light of it. You know, it happened.
Yeah.
I certainly can't hide from that. So,
but it was the way that you framed it. I actually wish that you did get to like fully speak on it because you're so right. Like in any other sport, if that happens to Tom Brady, what are they doing? He's going in and he's going to get his pants changed.
Yeah.
He's got
that opportunity.
He's not spending 15 minutes playing on the field with his junk out.
But I also do believe, because I almost disagree with everyone. It's like, oh, if that happened to such and such, he wouldn't have done that. And I'm like, I'm not so much different. You know, if Tom Brady's sport required him to stay out
on
there,
the field,
he's not going back.
Yeah.
Or like a lot of maybe the top guys, I don't know. I'm just going to say RC. RC probably would say, oh, yeah, dude, no, I would have never gone out there. Or anyone at the top level of our sport would say that. Put any of them in that position. The reason that they're at the very highest level of what we do
is because they would have done it.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. They're going to do what it takes.
Yeah.
I'm not the only one that would have done that. I was put in the position. I've been put in some wild positions, obviously. But, that's why I kind of wanted to, like, goes to show, like, we will do it. And we will do what we can every time. So that was.
It would have earned you massive street cred with Mitch.
Yeah. Actually, Dirt Shark Ash did like a thing in one of the next couple weekends. Where he said something about it, and Mitch was like, "Yeah, I mean, I want him to ride balls out all the time." You know what I mean? Like, and that's I've shown Mitch, and that's something I think he respects from me, is that he knows when he has me as a racer and he's hired me that no matter what, no question, I'm gonna try my very hardest every time, and I will never quit. Like, and I think that goes a long way with that guy.
Yeah.
He respects it a lot, and that's why I respect him a lot too, is because that's the way he is. That's why he's created such a great company. He's a great businessman. Arguably the best Lights 250 team.
Well, yeah, for sure.
The best Lights Supercross team, racing team ever.
Yeah.
And that doesn't come from being someone that pushes over or just kind of wants it.
Think about it. This is the thing I always think about with Mitch. Like, I remember in 2012, I remember seeing it with 2011, like outdoors. It was like when I first started going to the races. And I remember being so over the travel. It was like Budds Creek or something. And then Mitch gets on the plane in a wheelchair. And I'm just thinking, this motherfucker has been to every single race for 30 years. And for a huge majority, he's done it in a wheelchair.
Yep.
Like, that is savage. Think about the revolving door of people that weren't even in the position of like putting all that money on the line, having all of that responsibility, and they're like, nah, this is too hard. And they're not in a wheelchair.
Yep.
Like, it is actually insane, the level of like,
and he still wants
the heart
it that
to
bad.
do that, you know?
And he still wants it just as bad, or probably more, because of, you know what I mean? Like, winning a race means just as much to him or more. And he wants to win a championship still. And I think there's 2 doors completely covered in that semi. There's maybe 2 spots left. He's won that many championships, but he still wants to win them that bad still. Because it's just what he loves. Loves winning.
Yeah. How much did you know about the, like, in Detroit? Did you fully know that, like, everything was, like, you knew exactly the scenario? It wasn't like you were just kind of, you're like, oh, fuck.
No, I mean, there's a video that, I don't remember who it was, a filmer sent it, that, like, as soon as we all crash and I get up and I just look down and I'm like, and I put everything away in my pants. I put it all away. And then there's just no putting it away. Everything falls back out. And I'm just like, on to the next thing. Where's my bike? Like, this is this. And then, like, yeah, riding, it was it was, I could see it was a whole deal. It was a whole deal.
Did it hurt?
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't great. But, like, in the moment,
like
it wasn't
cheese
like,
grater.
In the moment, it wasn't like, oh, this hurts so bad. It was more so, like, when I got back to the semi, I was sick to my stomach all afternoon. All night. Yeah,
really?
'cause, like, but I never really had like a, oh, that hurt so bad moment, you know, because I was so much adrenaline, and all I was worried about was racing again, you know.
It's wild to me that, like, your dick just doesn't hurt more when you ride. Like,
and that we don't wear protection really, other than our pants and, you know, our whatever our under layer is, and we don't really have, like, injuries to it often.
Yeah.
You know? And you would assume, like, don't you sit on that? Don't you? I don't.
Yeah.
I don't struggle with that. Maybe someone else would, but
it is crazy that,
no.
like, they're just there and they're doing their thing, and we're like up, down, sit down, seat mount, like, and it's just not really that much of an issue.
Exactly.
And it's like not until you see someone run with their dick out
And
that you're like,
whoa,
wait a minute.
Yeah.
That's kind of what's going on anyway.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
What the fuck?
But just held together.
Yeah, this is kind of crazy.
It was a wild situation for sure.
Yeah, but you nailed it. But it's you. I think,
story.
like, yeah, the brand thing. It's like, I don't think the brand is that you were the dude with your dick out. It was like, your brand is, this motherfucker has been in the wildest experiences in Supercross. Like, you look at just every gnarly thing over the last few years, it's like you've kind of been somewhere a part of it. And, like, Atlanta, when you came back to get on the podium after that crash, like, I mean, mind-blowing, dude.
Yeah.
Like, that, you have that, you have the crash on the triple, you have, like, just the hits you've taken and, like, the way that you've bounced back. Like, that actually is your brand.
Yeah,
you know, I think
for
that's
sure.
the way, as this goes on more and more, like, people know you as just this
Coming
gnarly dude.
I can't wait to make some different highlight reels.
Yeah, but
Like, I'm ready. I'm ready for some, like, sweet highlight reels.
well,
now.
you got plenty of wins, you got plenty of podiums.
No,
but,
I always
like,
joke about that though. Like, I can't wait to maybe give myself the opportunity to have some crazy sick highlight reels. Maybe I pass a guy on the outside in the whoops or something.
So, have you been watching Moto GP?
Yeah, I've kept up on it a little bit here
Dude,
and there.
it's passing on the outside. Did you see Pecco on the weekend?
Oh, Moto. Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking MXGP.
MXGP. Do
No,
you watch MotoGP?
I follow him on Instagram, so not like not close enough.
Like, one of the sick, when you just said passing on the outside, oh my God. This Pecco, you know, the right.
I'm gonna go find it.
Dude, everyone.
Pecco Banales.
Pecco Bagnaia. Everybody should be watching MotoGP this year. It is psycho, dude.
Marquez on the podium, though, yeah?
Yep. One of the best, this last weekend in Jerez, one of the best just races.
I'm going to have to go back and rewatch it.
You'll ever
I think
see.
I have the app.
Yeah, so he passes, he's in fourth, just down the main straight, goes around the out. Everyone tries to squeeze him off. He rides both tires on the ripple strip. Just, it was unbelievable.
Wow.
So, like, some highlight reel shit.
And that's such a high level sport.
Yeah, insane.
So
dude.
sick.
But they all look at you guys as, like, the gnarliest. I think you guys really are the gnarliest guys. Like, Supercross, like, go into a stadium like Angel Stadium or like AT&T, and you just look and you go, you got to ride a 450 in there with 20 other people.
Yeah.
Like, it is insane what you guys actually do. The risk. I mean, dude, Austin's crash at Arlington, like, doesn't get much worse than that.
Yeah. That one was tough for me too, just because.
Did you see it? Were you
not
close enough
on
to
the
see
track?
it?
No, but I saw where his bike was, and as a racer, I knew while I was racing, saw where Spike was, and I knew exactly
what happened.
I knew. I was like, that's not good. In this section, the way this section is, I was like, that's not good. And man, like, see what he's come back from. See what I've experienced it from the outside. We're not very close, but again, I was just like, man, how? And then you watch it, and like that's he's one of the best guys in the world at racing a dirt bike, and that is the risk that we're assuming right there. And you have to respect that, and you have to understand it and be okay with it, and be like, I'm willing to take that, and I'm willing to do that. That's what we have to do.
Yeah.
And if you have to be very sure of that, and also very sure that that's not going to happen to you.
Yeah.
If you think that you don't race.
Yeah, it's like you have to be okay in assuming that risk and taking that risk, but also
knowing it won't happen.
Everything in your power to not let that happen.
You have to know in your mind that that's not going to happen to you.
But
then whatever happens, happens.
Moto's just it is just a wild thing to do, even like for me.
But it brings so much. That's why we do it.
I know, but like if you know, especially like my wife, right? So I'm training for World Vets and I'm out, and she's just like, this is fucking crazy. Like, this is stupid what you're doing. And then I had a dude broke his neck in my race at World Vets. And it's just like, we're just average 30-year-old men that are just like having fun in the sand, playing in the hills. And like, that's the risk that you take. But again, you just don't really think about it. We're obviously okay with it, because we go,
experience it.
You drive through the gate, you sign the waiver, but it's like fucking gnarly. And it speaks to obviously what it does for you, or you do it so long that the risk kind of melts away a little bit. I don't know, but it's.
I mean, at the same time too, like, go on YouTube and look up the gnarliest car crashes in the world.
Exactly.
We all get in a car and we drive down the street. Yeah. So like, that's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah. So, no, I think that is the right way to look at it. You look at all the statistics. Like, driving a car is probably one of the most irresponsible things that you can do for your health.
And you're counting on everyone else around you to be good.
But how about just like, not in California so much, but like in Oz, we just got heaps of like highways. So you're doing 100, so 60 mile an hour.
Yeah.
And it's just one way.
You're counting on that guy's going to keep it straight.
And it's like, bro, we're dead. Like every this car that goes past you, it's just death. And we're like this far from death.
If that's the way you think,
But like that's the reality.
Yeah.
Like that's what can happen.
Exactly.
But you just don't. You just keep.
Or let's just plan on keeping this thing rolling. Yeah.
But it's a trip when you really like.
Yeah.
But
that's kind of the stuff that I like. What we were talking about
with
earlier
Adam,
about thinking too much.
You're
like, nah, man, I'll spin myself out there. I'm gonna keep this thing rolling.
So I wanted to actually ask you too before we wrap this up. How about tracks this year? Do you have any opinion on tracks this year? Because no, I'm not even gonna front load that question. Do you have any opinions on tracks this year?
Wow, it's been gnarly. That's all I can say.
Too
basically.
gnarly?
I do think that a lot of the races, the crew has done an exceptional job to give us a raceable racetrack with the conditions that we've been provided.
I'm saying mud races aside too, by the way.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm taking that out of the equation.
It's gotten to where Supercross is so rutted now. I don't think it's just because of the way the motorcycles have changed and gotten bigger and better.
What do you
much
think
softer. It is? I think part of it, I'm not super sure, but I know that after that San Diego race with the lime incident, they don't use lime as much anymore. So maybe that would have to do with it, because I'm pretty sure they used to put lime in the faces of some jumps and in some turns to like harden the dirt up. But I also think it's the way they're prepping it. They're prepping it to be more rutted and more technical. That's another kind of topic that I don't really super speak on it because I don't have a way to change it.
Yeah, but I'll push back on that because I think you do in a sense.
In a sense,
because you are a guy that is winning races in championship home.
I would like to see. The one thing that I don't agree upon is the 9 whoops.
Let's go. Get rid of that.
Because I was an amateur who had never ridden Supercross, guess what I had to do?
Learn whoops.
Learn whoops. And one of the scariest things for me, one of the hardest things for me was to learn whoops. And you look at all the greats in our sport, they're great in the whoops. And if you can't hit whoops, there's MXGP and outdoor pro motocross. That's my opinion on it. And I guess it's because I already had to go through that process. And, that's a huge, I remember races in Phoenix that had like 13 whoops that were like hard packed loader whoops. And wow, talk about change about the guy
They had a couple
whoops,
burly sets in
the guy
Phoenix
that's
over
good in
the
the
years.
whoops is going to have an exceptional night.
Yeah.
But that's a massive part of Supercross. I think now it's pretty much free practice, triple is what most guys are doing. So
It's
I wish
basically
it wasn't the case.
the whoop section now is basically a rhythm section for 65s.
Yeah. And I think but at the end of the day, also, the cream rises to the top. Like Cooper Webb isn't probably considered like the most exceptional guy on the whoops ever, right? He's a 2-time Supercross champion with tracks with 14 whoops and however many whoops,
Yeah.
So I'm a firm believer in the cream rises to the top, whether the tracks are too rutted, whether the tracks are too hard packed, whatever it is. But that's the only thing that I'm like, man, I really wish that wasn't a thing. And if there was statistics saying that on Whoop 10, dudes are crashing really bad and it's taking our riders out, maybe I would understand it more. But yeah, that's the one thing that I would like. The tracks they're breaking down so much now and they've turned so rutted. But again, like the best dudes are still winning.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and that's a pretty good point, to be honest, because I think it's actually a very important point. The cream does rise to the top.
Mm-hmm.
So why are we dumbing this down?
Yeah, I agree.
The guys are still gonna win, but now you're making it to where like it's just not really Supercross. You know, you're taking away this huge element. And I had a bit of a rant that I wanted to go on. Like, I can't remember what race it was, but like I just as a fan, I've watched Supercross my entire life. There's not a year of my life where I have not been invested in Supercross.
Mm-hmm.
And to see the change that we've gone through, like the Instagram's the best for this. Like, how many amazing Instagram clips do you see of like Stu and Ricky and Chad? And it's just like they're sliding the bike. And I saw, what I saw the other day that was just the nostalgia was like a drug. A fucking berm in Supercross that had no ruts in it.
Yeah.
And it was shiny and black, like
Dude.
where it was the dirt wouldn't even stick on it. It was so hard packed.
Like some of the races with Stu and those guys cutting back on each other and like just
that's gone.
Passing each other back and forth 4 times a lap, 5 times a lap. It's like so sick. Also, like I think as a fan watching, the normal fan watches someone blitz a big set of whoops and they're like, yeah, that's something I can't do.
Mm-hmm.
Like most guys that ride dirt bikes, they can jump them. We all know how to do jumps. So like a rhythm lane, they probably don't even have the understanding of what it takes to really do it. But it's like, oh yeah, I could, hit the rhythm, whatever. But I can't hit those whoops.
Yeah.
Can't hit those whoops.
Yeah.
Now that's kind of like gone a little bit, So that would be my one thing.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah. It's been interesting. I haven't spoke about it like much on the podcast, but I've talked to so many guys that race right now that fucking hate it.
Yeah.
Like
most of us.
There's a lot of dudes that just really wish that Supercross could look like Supercross, and that you could go to a Supercross track and it finish the night and you looked like you rode a Supercross track. Yeah. Like it is like if you go down on I was down on the track at LA and like that was actually hard pack at the Coliseum.
And you're like, how do dirt bikes go around this?
It looked like a fucking bomb went off, bro. In every single turn and it's like, this isn't the sport.
I'll bring Maddie down onto the track going into the press conferences because she'll come with me sometimes. And I'm like, this is what we're riding on. Look at this. And then she's like, and she doesn't even really have an indicator of, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, she
She rips a 110.
She rips her 110 and gets in some loose gravel, and she's like, I'm out, dude. I'm out. Nope. You know,
Yeah.
so, but it's like someone that rides actually, and if they actually went down to floor level of a Supercross track, they'd be like, how do you guys ride a motorcycle around this?
Yeah.
It's pretty insane.
Yeah. And I just don't think we're seeing like, I mean, we're seeing good racing. Like, don't get me wrong, but it's like it's different, you know, like I just don't feel like you can race the way that you used to be able to race a Supercross track. And it feels like so, and the heat's fine, you know, like you kind of get it all right for the heat, but even by the 450 heat, like the difference
it's become
between
very tactical.
Yeah, you have to race such a specific way to
and make certain decisions, like very calculated in order to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's cool to get your opinion on that because I was lucky I was in Dubai because I was just gonna fucking lose it. I was just getting so because it's one of the things I like about my job. I just get to go on massive rants.
Yeah. No one can tell you.
And I got the microphone, so I can say what I want. But yeah, I mean, it's been very frustrating this year. And rain aside, you know, but I think the same about the outdoor tracks too now. It's like, get rid of scoop tires. If it's not actually a sand track where you need a scoop tire, like you're only doing it for the start. Everyone's only doing it for the start.
I love me a scoop tire. I can't agree with you on that one.
I do too. But you see what they do to the tracks. To where it's like you're not squaring someone up. You're not like getting up beside. But you've got to be in your line and you've got to pick it. And then if you're going to make a pass, like you said, you have to tactically make this pass. Stay in your slot.
Definitely.
You're not going in. And but I run a scoop tire at Glen Helen for the vets. And it was an amazing experience. But I think for a racing point of view, you know, there's probably some amazing tires that they can put on F1 cars.
Yeah.
But with the racing in mind, they make them use a soft, they make them use a medium, and they make them use a hard.
I'd probably run a soft the whole time, right? And make 3 pit stops. I don't know much about F1. I don't know as much as they do, but yeah.
But, you know, it's in the mix. It's like we're not just giving them the best thing. Like, this is the best thing. It's the best thing for the start. It's great for the depth. It's like if everyone's on the same thing, it's not a disadvantage. And let's just see if this does change the way that these tracks form up. Does that change the racing?
Yeah, I understand that.
So anyway, rant over. Mate, thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
This is great. This is always great.
This one was really good.
Yeah.
I like this one. I think that I had a little bit more to share this time and it was sick to actually be face to face too.
Yeah, well, so for the people that don't know, the first time you did this was like you were one of the first people that did the US stuff when we first started doing it. And
I was in a room in a guy's house, and now you're in a sick soundproofed studio in Costa Mesa. So congrats on what you've built.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah.
Well,
thanks for having me on.
Next studio, hopefully it's even better. We'll get you in.
Yes, sir.
Well, good luck for outdoors. Are you going to be at any tracks? Are we going to be riding together at all?
I'll be there. Tuesday at Paula. I'll be there at Glen Helen Thursdays.
Tuesday, Paula, is that the day?
That's the day that we ride there.
You don't go to Glen Helen Tuesday?
Nope. Paula Tuesday. Paula Monday usually. Glen Helen Thursday.
Yeah.
We'll see what our Friday track is. I'm not really sure. I think it was Paris last year, but I'm not sure.
Dude, that's fun.
Good track.
It'd be hard to do a long moto on, but very fun.
Yep, I've done some 35s on there. A minute 24 second lap time. It's a long moto.
It's bumping out like 160 laps.
Yeah,
that track's super fun though.
Yeah.
Well, mate, thanks again. And
thanks for having me.
Also, can't be understated that you just had your season taken away from you, dealing with the injury. That fucking sucks. But you're here and you're doing it, and you do it with the best attitude. So that's honestly says a lot about you as a person. So hopefully you know that doesn't go unnoticed.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Legend.
Thanks for having me.
We're excited to announce the launch of our new membership site, gypsytales.com, packed with exclusive content and perks that you won't find anywhere else. This is your chance to become a part of the Gypsy Gang. And as a special bonus, if you sign up to an annual membership, you'll be entered into the draw to win our custom-built TC125. Gypsy Gang.